Season 5, Episode 39 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Steelers. I am Sam Fetterman. That is Jonathan Lidskin. Jonathan, how you doing tonight?
I am doing better, Sam. You were on the phone with me. I had to drive back to school today. It was not fun. It was over a 7 hour. It was an over 7 hour drive for a trip that usually takes me under 6.
Yeah, so I also drove back. I was at Lafayette this afternoon. Just made it back about 45 minutes ago. But we have a huge rundown for today because somebody fell asleep on Thursday night and didn't do the podcast with us.
You know, the Thanksgiving food coma got the best of me, I will say.
Yeah, we were going to do a lot of Maui recap stuff Thursday night, a lot of like some Players era stuff, obviously, Duke, Kansas, Illinois, Arkansas. We were going to do a lot of that on Thursday night. But we have to do all that today because it happened and it's huge in college basketball right now. We can't not talk about it. Jonathan, we're going to have to do a lot of pods this week, but we have a big show for you. Maui, all the one-off games as well. Players era, Atlantis. We've got all the stuff that happened out west as well. We've got the stuff from Orlando. We've got the stuff from other places out in the Atlantic Ocean. And obviously at the end of the show, we'll go over some of the Big 12, Big East stuff. But right now, starting out in the Pacific Ocean at the Lahaina Civic Center, great to have the tournament back there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really was.
One of these years I have to go. I don't know what year. I don't know how I'm getting there. I'd swim to go to the Maui Invitational.
Yeah, I was going to say, I would assume it would be by a plane. Yeah, maybe a boat.
But like, I'd swim to get there, is my point. The team that comes out of Maui as the storyline is UConn, but I want to start with the team that won Maui, the team that looks like the best team in college basketball right now, the Auburn Tigers. Jonathan, would you agree that if you came up with a ranking tomorrow, Auburn would be number one?
Yeah, it's impossible not to rank them number one right now. I mean, from a resume standpoint, from a power ranking standpoint, they are very clearly above the rest right now. And I'm not saying that that's going to be the case at the end of the season. I'm not saying it's going to be the case even a month from now. But as of this current moment, Auburn has beaten Houston at a neutral site, Iowa State at a neutral site, Memphis at a neutral site, and North Carolina at a neutral site. And they are the number one team in KenPom by about like 1.2 points. It looks like over Tennessee. So yeah, in all facets, Auburn deserves to be the number one team right now, no matter how you are doing your ranking.
Yeah, Auburn is 7-0. They are the number one offense in college basketball. They are shooting 66% from inside the arc. They have this duo with Janai Broome and Dylan Cardwell that are playing together a lot more this year. And it's bludgeoning teams at the rim on both ends, really. And I mean, teams, the really unique thing about Auburn's defense is that with how good they are at protecting the rim and also how much they force you to come after them at the rim and how much they force you to challenge their rim protectors in Janai Broome, who sometimes they can just go ahead and say, all right, we'll stick Dylan Cardwell there and we'll put Janai Broome kind of roaming around and as the help side defender. And that's even scarier when they do that. Chaney Johnson has been fantastic defensively. I know we had our reservations about Chaney Johnson coming into the season. He has been awesome. And then everything that they get from their guards offensively so far has been solid. It's been good enough because Janai Broome has taken another leap as an offensive player. He's now a guy that can face you up from 25 feet and take you to the basket. He's getting where he wants to in 2 steps and a snap. And his assist turnover rate right now, 20.5 assist rate, 9.3 turnover rate. I don't know how many 6'10 guys have the 20% assist rate and the turnover rate below 10. Jonathan, if you could talk while I Torvik that.
Yeah, no, look, what I was going to kind of add about this team is they just they don't really have a weakness right now. Like maybe You can point at the fact that they don't force a lot of turnovers, but their off-ball defense is so good that it doesn't even matter. Like they do a really good job denying the ball. They're shooting it really well with not only Baker Mazzara, but Pettiford, Miles Kelly has been really good for them. JP Pegues hasn't even been really good at all, and they've been just fine without the guy that we thought was going to be their starting point guard when they brought him in, and at times is.
Jonathan, I just Torvik it. He is the only player taller than 6'7" with a assist rate above 20 and a turnover rate below 10. And he's also the best defensive player in college basketball. And he's shooting 35% from three, and he's shooting 68% from inside the arc. His box plus minus right now is 17.4.
Yeah, he's been unstoppable. You texted me the other day that there's only like 3 players in the KenPom database that have a better like player rating for KenPom MVP in like the history of the sport.
Yeah, it was Kaminsky,
Edie last year.
Yeah.
And Russ Smith?
Yeah, 2013 Russ Smith. The year they won the national championship. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, you have.
By the way, if you can guess who the 6'7" guy is, it's a high major player. I would be very surprised.
No idea.
Zachary Davis at South Carolina.
Yeah, no, you could give me a million guesses. I wouldn't get that one.
But yeah, Auburn, just looking at what they did this week, just kind of go back to the actual games they played, starting with the Iowa State game. Iowa State comes out, that second 10 minutes, probably the best. At the time, I tweeted out, I said that's the best half that any college basketball team has played all year.
Mm-hmm.
And then it didn't matter. Auburn won the game. Within like 5 minutes in the second half, that lead was erased. Iowa State was gassed on night 1 of the Maui Invitational. Maui Invitational was 3 days, 3 games. Iowa State was gassed on night 1. Auburn played 20 minutes of basketball where they were clearly the worst team, and then played 100 minutes of basketball where they were better than anybody could have imagined. And I didn't even think they played poorly in the first half of that Iowa State game. It was just Iowa State was awesome.
Iowa State hit shots. And
we'll get to Iowa State in a little bit. We'll talk UConn before we talk Iowa State. But Auburn comes back in that game. Tahad Pettiford hits big shots because, I mean, that's just what Tahad Pettiford does. Mm-hmm. Auburn, just the ability to go down there and get stops late in the game. This was an electric basketball game. And one of my favorites that I've watched all year. And, of course, they win on an offensive rebound.
Yep. By, the best player in America.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think anybody we've talked for a little bit already about just how good Johni Broome is. I mean, he's the best player in college basketball right now. And I remember a lot, like, he was my national player of the year coming into the season. He was a lot of people's pick, but like he was, what were the odds on him?
He was 50-1 at one point in the offseason.
He was 50-1 at one point in the offseason. I tweeted out, like, how is he plus 5,000? What was your line?
AJ Storr had better odds than him.
What was your line?
What do you mean?
Your line on the tweet when you tweeted out the what's it called?
Oh, I mean, it was something along the lines of, like, there are multiple players here that have 0 shot of winning a national title, and Johni Broome is just sitting there at 50-1.
Yeah. You wrote a great Rise and Shine that morning. We got to get back to writing Rise and Shine, by the way.
Yeah, we'll do it tonight. I can take it if you want.
We'll have a Rise and Shine tonight for you, and we'll have them every day. Hopefully every day this season. That's been the plan. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I forget who it was that was driving on that last play, but like he slipped and didn't really have the best look. Kind of threw it up there. But it's Auburn. You throw it up there, they're going to come down with it.
Yep, they're really physical. They can They can play fast. They can play slow. They can speed you up. It's a really complete basketball team, as complete as we have seen so far this year. And right now, just eyeballing it, Ken Palm has Auburn as an underdog in one game the rest of the year. Right
That
now,
game is Wednesday.
yes, it
And
is.
we'll get into that later in the show. I actually forgot to put that in the rundown. So the rundown can get even longer.
Great.
We'll put that right before the Big 12 Big East. That's ACC SEC. Anyway, Auburn then went on to play North Carolina, and we'll talk a little bit about the Tar Heels. But Jedi Broom in that game, 23, 19, 5, and 3. He is putting up just silly stat lines. What are his averages right? What do you think his averages are right now? 'Cause I almost never look at averages.
Yeah, I don't really either. I more care about efficiency and how you're impacting the game.
Okay, he's averaging 21 points, 13 rebounds, 3 assists, and 4 stocks, 3.1 blocks, and 0.9 steals. 59% from the field.
I definitely would have been the furthest off the rebounds. I did not realize his rebound numbers were that absurd.
Yeah, he has been wildly good so far this year. It really just felt like North Carolina had no answers inside, and we'll talk about how big of a problem that is. We'll talk about some other problems that I think North Carolina has, but Auburn just killed him, just totally killed him. It never felt like that game was close. And then they go on and they beat Memphis. I think a lot of people, Auburn probably thought, oh, if we make the final, we'll play UConn. That didn't happen. They got Memphis, and they kept Memphis completely off the 3-point line. That was a Memphis team that was shooting really well, and they took 9 threes all game.
Yep.
Because Auburn's guards just did such a good job defensively of making sure that Memphis couldn't get those looks that they wanted off their screens.
Yeah, Dylan Cardwell was perfect from the field in this game. 7 for 7 from 2, hit a 3, missed a pair of free throws, but had 6 assists as well. Like everything is just clicking for them right now. Everyone is doing what they need to be doing for them to be a dominant basketball team.
Auburn played more minutes with walk-ons on the floor in the last 2 games of Maui than they did trailing.
That's good.
They did not trail in the last 2 games of Maui, and walk-on Blake Muskalik and Presley Patterson got on the floor. Hey, Ja'Kai Howard got on the floor in Maui. He survived. Ja'Kai Howard hadn't played since he got into a fight on a plane.
He was part of some horseplay a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. Jaheim Hudson played too. Another horse player.
Unreal.
They all right.
Is that what we're calling those two the rest of the season? The horse players?
All right. 15 minutes down, and still basically 3 pages of this rundown to go. UConn.
Okay.
The first thing I want to talk about is just that insane UConn Memphis game, and then we'll kind of use that to dive deeper into Dan Hurley and UConn themselves. That was one of the best games I've watched in a very long time.
It's funny because that might have been the best game of the tournament, and it felt like the least significant of the 3 games that UConn played.
Yeah,
this week.
I completely agree with that, because that game, Memphis is a good team. They shot incredibly well, and they barely and they squeaked it out, and they really needed every inch in that game. I didn't come out of that game thinking any less of UConn than I did before the game started.
Yeah, no, I've been really impressed by Memphis. I do think that their shooting so they are due for some shooting regression here in the next couple weeks. Those soft rims really seem to favor them.
Okay, hold on. I lied. I did come out of that game a little bit more concerned about UConn because of the Aiden Mahaney factor.
Yes, we've watched Tyrese Hunter for 3 years. He's not all of a sudden gonna do what he did over the last week at Maui. But like Memphis is off to a really strong start. They have already played their weakest non-con opponent in Ohio. They
We killed him.
they killed them. They only play five teams in non-con that are below 100 in Ken Palm, and Ohio is the only one that's below like
And two of them are away games.
Yeah, so like the schedule's tough, and they've taken advantage of it so far. They're the number one 3-point shooting team in the country. I think they're a good shooting team. I don't expect them to finish the season number one, but this is very clearly a good basketball team that, barring a a significant conference collapse, is going to be headed for the NCAA tournament and probably a pretty good seed as well.
Back to UConn, because this is what we were supposed to be talking about. The Aiden Mahaney factor. Aiden Mahaney played 24 minutes in the first game in Maui. He played 15 in the next two. Then he played 16 against Maryland Eastern Shore on Saturday. He was kind of unplayable.
He is unplayable.
He is not hitting shots, not creating any space when he's driving, and he's nowhere near physical enough on the defensive end to be playable for UConn. And this is a guy that we all thought was going to be or at least most people thought was going to be an all Big East player. I know there were a couple of people that were kind of dissenting on Mahaney in the offseason, but I think the overwhelming opinion on Aiden Mahaney was that, it's UConn, it's Dan Hurley. Who cares if he had a down year last year? We all saw what he was as a freshman. And then he's just nowhere near it. Like, he is incapable of keeping anyone in front of him right now. And honestly, that's one of UConn's big problems, that a guy that we thought was going to be a 15, maybe 12, 13, 14 point a game scorer is unplayable in big games. He took 2 shots in the last 2 games of Maui.
Yeah. It's a problem, but it's not the only problem.
It's far from the only problem. There are a bunch of problems with UConn. Going back to that Memphis game, though, they were dead, totally dead. I was congratulating Memphis people on the win. They were up 15. They were up 13 points with 4 minutes left, and all of a sudden, Liam McNeely hits a couple shots, and I don't want to get into the whole foul up 3 thing here, but once Diarra goes inside the arc on that last possession, and it's a 3-point game, there is no reason why Memphis doesn't foul. You have to foul when they go inside the arc. But again, that's a snap decision that you have to really, and you don't want to be thinking that. You don't want to be thinking that when the ball is inbounded, because if that happens, you're probably the first thing you think about when the ball gets inbounded is, all right, if it comes in the arc, I have to foul. Then you're probably intuitively staying back a little bit and giving them more space to operate on the perimeter, which is exactly the opposite of what you need in this situation, because you're trying to prevent a 3. Memphis did a really good job blowing up everything that UConn wanted to do on that play. Just solo ball came up with a big shot.
Yeah, I think first of all, on the Mahaney stuff, as a neutral observer of UConn, I'm not disappointed that he's unplayable, because that means we get to see more Ahmad Noel, who I think is really good. But on the follow-up 3 stuff, it was a very interesting dialogue all week, or at least over the weekend after the Northwestern game.
We'll get into that later.
I think Kevin Sweeney and Jim Root were talking about how following up 3 isn't as simple as just doing it.
It's not.
Timing it right and playing defense is more difficult than that, than just following when you're up 3 points.
Yes, but you do have to have it in your head that once that ball goes inside the arc, you foul.
Yeah, but
inside the arc, 7 seconds left, you have to foul.
Yes. Back to UConn though. Who on this team right now did you come away this week feeling super positive about?
Tyrus Reed.
Yeah,
Tyrus Reed.
that's the one I'd say.
And even he fouled out of this game, fouled out of the Colorado game with 3 points, and then had 7 points against State.
Like I said it once, I'll say it again. If Samson Johnson was trying to like help Memphis win, I don't know what he would have done differently.
Missed those 2 free throws that he made.
Like
That's what he would have done.
It shocked me how hard it was for UConn to get into their sets and initiate their offense. And I mean, part of that is, Hassan Diarra is your starting point guard now instead of your backup point guard. Tristan Newton was doing that effortlessly. The rim protection without Donovan Clingan is awful. Like, I don't know. I don't know like where this team goes right now because they have so many things to fix. Like it'd be one thing to lose
on rank in defense with no preseason priors.
I do not know.
193rd.
Yeah, that's unbelievable. I think that like I do think that they'll improve and get better throughout the year, but it'd be one thing if you just lost to a Memphis team that is clearly good. But to go out and lose to a Colorado team who looked awful in their other 2 games, and then get pummeled by a good Dayton team, but you got pummeled by them.
That game was over with 15 minutes left.
It's just
the problem is UConn, like they're getting blown by. Everyone's getting blown by, and the bigs can't defend without fouling.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're getting put in situations where you have to shuffle the lineups up. You can't play. You can't script the game the way you want to because every time you try that, you have a big in foul trouble in 2 minutes. And UConn's 346th right now in free throw defense. Free throw allowed per.
Not free throw defense.
Well, yeah, I think that's what I would call free throw defense. Like in foul rate, basically. In free throw.
When did Texas A&M Commerce change their name?
Like literally 2 weeks ago.
I just saw
the day before that game.
I just saw East Texas A&M on KenPom. What the hell is this?
It was like the day before that game.
That's awesome.
Anyway, Caravan's real. I would say another player I came away feeling good about was Jalen Stewart.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say he has to start because he doesn't, but like he has to play 20 plus minutes a game. Like he is really good
right now,
and I think that like Stewart and Ross, I think are the pieces for this team that like if they figure it out, we're looking at them. Like if this UConn team really figures it out, and
I think those two in Ball.
I mean, Ball is Ball. Like we know what Ball is like right now. Or okay, we obviously don't know what he is, but like he's clearly good. Like Solo Ball is clearly a good player, and he is clearly a key piece of this team. Stewart and Ross haven't like carved out those roles yet. Obviously, Ross missed the first game and was kind of working back. But I do think those guys, if we are talking in February about a UConn team that has a chance to win a national championship, we're talking about Jalen Stewart and Jaden Ross.
Yeah.
And then the other elephant in the room with UConn, Dan Hurley.
Which might be like more. It's not more important, but more polarizing than anything else.
There were a lot of reasons why UConn lost that game against Memphis. UConn lost that game in large part, though, due to Dan Hurley taking a technical foul. Mm-hmm. Dan Hurley hadn't taken a technical foul in a situation like that since the Xavier game in 2023 on like December 3rd. It was like either New Year's Day or New Year's Eve, the first national championship. It was the first loss they took that year.
It was December
All right.
31st, 83-73.
That was the first loss UConn took that year after blowing through non-con and then blowing through the first 3 games of conference play. And this year, he takes a Tech, the first loss that UConn takes since February. So, Dan Hurley, I was listening to another pod, I don't remember which one said it, but like, could this anger, could like this version of, because we didn't see this version of Hurley last year. Obviously, he was still insane, but he was way more zen, especially in the press conferences. Just kind of like monotonous in the press conferences. He is unbelievably fired up right now. And part of it could be because he knows that he needs to be performative. He needs to he needs everything he can get. He was so confident in his team last year, and he's maybe not there with this team yet. My other thing is he's just a crazy person. Like, we know that. Like, Dan Hurley's a crazy person.
Mm-hmm.
And
I mean, he said that himself.
And the comments he made after the game, that he's been making after the game that targeted the officials, extremely unprofessional. We get it. We saw your disapproval. You don't need to come in and 20 minutes later and say everything's wrong. Just own up to it.
When you have people on Twitter making compilations of like your reactions from that tournament, yeah, we know you didn't like the officiating.
And then the one thing I would say about Dan Hurley, Dan Hurley and the staff, they are not normal human beings. They are insane human beings. Mm-hmm. You think UConn fans are taking this hard? How hard do you think Dan Hurley took this? Mm-hmm. He is UConn comes out, obviously. Wednesday they play Baylor. We'll talk about that. Would anyone be surprised if UConn just came out and won by 25?
No, wouldn't be.
Didn't I say the same thing about Baylor Michigan State last year?
Yeah, but I also think that Baylor has issues.
Baylor does. UConn next 3 games: Baylor, Texas, Gonzaga, and then you're into Big East play.
Yep.
We are going to learn a lot about this team over the next 2 weeks. I will see them in person at Madison Square Garden when they do take on Gonzaga. After that game, we'll probably don't have time to do a podcast that night. Although we definitely have to, because that's a huge day of college hoops. That's like the biggest non-conference day of college basketball because there's no college football, except for Army-Navy, which is a big game, but whatever. But I have an early game the next day. We'll probably do it Sunday night. But we're going to know a lot more about this UConn team if they are tournament caliber or if they are just, you look at Maui and you say, okay, it happened. It's in the past. They're going to be fine. Or if this is a real concern. We'll know that 2 weeks from 2 weeks from yesterday, I think. And then they take on Xavier to open up conference play. I think I'll probably be at that game too. All right, moving on from UConn.
Real quick, by the way, did you see the thing he said today?
Which one?
That he'll.
Oh, he won't. He doesn't want. We don't have time to get into that.
No, I know. It's just
it's like an off-season topic. Mm-hmm. We didn't do well enough on like off-season news topics this off-season. I think next off-season we got to be better with that. But all right, just right now, how concerned are you about UConn?
On a scale of 1 to 10, 6.
I'd say a 6 or a 7. All right, just
like they very clearly have issues, but like I also trust the coaching staff more than I trust any other coaching staff in the country.
Just running through kind of the rest of the field. Iowa State is awesome. Like, I don't think anybody came away from this tournament, even though they lost, thinking less of Iowa State. Keyshawn Gilbert might be their best player, and they've taken every single year TJ Otzelberger has been at Iowa State. His first year, 171st in offense. Second year, 114th. Last year, 52nd. This year, they're 4th. They are offensive slant right now. They're 4 in offense, 11 in defense.
Can I tell
Obviously,
you?
Everything starts with how good their guards are defensively, but those guards are now also some of the best offensive guards in the country. Keyshawn Gilbert is top 10 for KenPom Player of the Year. Tamin Lipsey is shooting 20% from three, and he's still got a 115 offensive rating.
Yeah. Hey, I thought that Dayton was the third most impressive team in this tournament.
I don't disagree, but Iowa State beat them.
Yeah,
Dayton was maybe more impressive. Dayton was way more impressive relative to expectation.
Yes,
I would say.
That's what I meant.
I was very impressed with Letang. And just how well he came in some of those minutes. Just the dynamic of how that backcourt works with Posh and Malachi. Malachi Smith is all the way back. Like all the way.
No, like let's hope he stays healthy.
He's the team's best player. Malachi Smith is the team's best player.
Like they're deep. They play together. They're a connected team. Santos will end up being the all-conference guy here, or at least the best player from this group. But yeah,
Malachi Smith be this team's best player.
Like maybe. I don't know. I still think Nate Santos. I still believe in Nate Santos a lot.
Oh, I do too. And Zed Key has been awesome.
That was the expectation for him in this league.
I was a doubter of Zed Keys. Just I didn't like him at Ohio State, and he stepped up and played really well against teams against top tier competition.
Mm-hmm.
That was surprising to me.
Yeah, which is that's been the criticism.
But yeah, Dayton came away with a great week. Keyshawn Gilbert, I just want to go back to that. He's Iowa State's best guard. He might be he's one of the best defensive guards in all of college basketball. And Tamin Lipsey is too, no doubt about that. But the fact that they let this team get Josh Jefferson, man, how did they let this team get Josh Jefferson?
We said perfect fit.
And on North Carolina,
you gave up 1.18 points per possession to a Michigan State team that made 4 threes.
That's a concern. North Carolina has absolutely it wasn't even that they didn't have a good interior presence. They were leaving Michigan State unguarded in the paint in this game. There were multiple times where Xavier Booker or Cohen Carr or Carson Cooper had just had a wide open dunk. They passed it to him in a wide open dunk.
And I hate to break it to you. We've watched a lot of these guys now for 1-2 years. That's the only way they're going to score. Is if it's wide open.
Okay. My kind of concerns here with North Carolina, even outside of the big man situation, is okay, Seth Trimble's good. Cadeau looks really good. But if the bigs are going to be this bad and the defense is going to be this bad, I think they and Ian Jackson he's been okay. They think they need a little more of him, but they really can't play more of him because he's basically been a ball stopper. He hasn't he's just been kind of looking to score.
Yeah, there was a clip of him that was concerning. I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah, I responded to it because he's never been on a team where him creating isn't the best option. So he needs to learn how to be an explosive role player right now. And he's also not giving anything defensively, which kind of brings me to the fact that they need Cade Tyson. Is there a reason Cade Tyson can't get on the floor?
Yes, I think there is.
What?
I don't think Cade Tyson can guard at this level either.
Yes, but is Cade Tyson not good enough to play at least 10 minutes a game?
Listen, I do think that they should be playing him more than they are. But I also
they are relying so heavily on those first 3 guards right now. Those guys are gonna have to the way that they're playing right now. They have too much talent on this team. There's too much money on the bench of this team for them to play 37, 37, and 34 minutes for RJ Davis, Seth Trimble, and Elliot Cadeau.
Sam, you and I both watched a pretty decent amount of Belmont last year. if someone asked us which of those three would have the toughest time transferring up, you and I would have had the same answer without thinking about it twice.
Yeah, completely agree. But does that mean that he can't play a role?
No, it does. It doesn't mean that. And like
They
right
have
now,
too
you
much
have
money sitting on the bench to be relying on Davis, Trimble, and Cadeau as heavily as they are, because that's going to take a toll. Like,
like
those guys are great, awesome players, but that's
listen,
going to take a toll, and they're going to need as much offense as possible. And it's not like, because they're not going to have the defense. You already know that. No matter who they put in the game, they're not going to have the defense. Their best defender is what? Drake Powell?
yeah,
That's a
sure.
problem. Drake Powell's a freshman.
So UNC's non-con is really hard, and like a lot of their bye games are already out of the way. They played Elon, they played American, they played Hawaii. They have LaSalle, not a bad team, and Campbell. Like I don't know how much more lineup experimenting you can actually do, like before you're like actually concerned about losing to pretty much everyone on your schedule, or like you have to play at least okay to beat everyone on your schedule. But like if your defense is going to be this bad, why not just like play Jalen Washington at the 5 and Cade Tyson at the 4 and commit to being an elite offensive team? We 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 saw an elite offensive team that played no defense go to the Final Four last year. It can be done.
Completely agree. Completely agree. Um, I just want to see a little bit. Like, I want to see more Cade Tyson. I think he's good enough offensively to play. And obviously, I think Drake Powell. There were points where you couldn't take him off the floor. He was that good.
Like,
Moving on to Michigan State.
by the way, James Brown has a 206 offensive rating.
James Brown has played 7 minutes.
I don't care. It's just funny.
Center of the future. Okay, Michigan State.
Center in air quotes.
Michigan State right now is 363rd out of 364 teams in 3-point percentage offense. Trivia time.
2-1.
Who's last?
Canisius.
No, it's Cleveland State. But
Oh,
good
okay.
guess. Actually, a really good guess
My
considering.
next guess was going to be Old Dominion. So,
I came away from this honestly. I like Michigan State. I like them more than I thought I would. But at the end of the day, I know what they're going to be in March. They're going to be a 7 seed.
Here's how Michigan State's season will go. People will complain about the big rotations. They won't be able to shoot. They'll finish the season like 9-11 or 10-10 in conference. They'll get an 8 seed or maybe a 9-10 seed, 7 seeds, right around there, depending on how the landscape plays out. They will win their first round game because Tom Izzo will probably outcoach whoever they play against, regardless if John Wooden walks out of the locker room to coach the other team. Then in the second round, they will play another team. They will go. They will shoot 40% from 3 in the game on high volume, and it will be up to the other team to score enough points to win. If not, Michigan State will play in the Sweet 16.
Yep, that's exactly what happens every year. I don't think we need to talk about them anymore.
No, I mean, Trey Holloman's been inefficient, but he's one of the best playmakers in the Big Ten. And I'm really glad
We'll
he had
talk
a
about
great
a
game.
different Pierce brother soon enough.
Oh, yeah. Oh, we will.
And on Colorado, just anything?
Oh, real quick on Michigan State, like Jace Richardson's just gonna have to play more. Like,
well, he was hurt.
I know, but like he's just gonna have to.
Jace Richardson,
Might be their best player.
Okay, there's a chance that by the end of the year, this guy's their best player.
Yeah. And then, Colorado.
They have dudes. They have a lot of dudes. Like, none of them are dudes. Like, a lot of guys that can play.
All right. We both liked Malone. He's looked good. Jakimovski's been good for them. I still think they're gonna Ken Palm has him projected at 7 Big 12 wins right now. I would still be pretty surprised if they got to 7.
Yeah, I think I'd agree.
But like
I would not be surprised if they lost to Pacific on tomorrow.
they are better than I thought they were in the preseason,
Completely agree.
which was one of if not the worst high major team in college basketball.
Yep. All right, we got to talk. All right, that's 40 minutes on Maui.
40 minutes on Maui, and I loved every second of it.
We are like a third of a page into the rundown. That's 2.5 pages long.
Yeah, this is gonna be a doozy.
To Kansas. I'll let you take the lead here.
So where do we want to start with this one? Do we want to start with all the bad narratives or all the good ones? There were no good ones. What am I saying?
I have one narrative that I want to push.
So I'm gonna get out ahead of this before you say it, because I tweeted the plus minus from Kansas's front court, and after this game was over, I don't actually believe what I tweeted. Like, Kansas will be a worse team without Hunter Dickinson in almost every game they play. They need Hunter Dickinson to play good half-court offense, because otherwise it's just a bunch of guys that move the ball well, but none of them can actually really score inside on their own. KJ Adams was Kansas's best player on Tuesday night. Was this? Yeah, Tuesday night. I wouldn't call KJ Adams Kansas's best player, but I'd call him their most important. And I've kind of said that for the last 2 or 3 years. Like, obviously they had McCullough, but Adams does so many things well and nothing elite. But
what do you mean he doesn't do anything elite?
I mean, I think he does elite things for his size, but
Dude, he's like one of the 3 best defenders in the sport.
Okay, I should specify on the offensive end, he doesn't do anything elite.
Okay,
but yeah, he's one. To your point, he is one of the few guys that can guard as many positions as he does, and he got the game-winning stop for them. He made winning play after winning play down the stretch. This is a roster that fits together better than last year, in my opinion. And I don't think that Dickinson. I don't think a fair criticism of Duke is, oh, you didn't win despite the fact that Hunter Dickinson got tossed. I kind of thought Duke would have won that game if Dickinson didn't get tossed.
I mean, I think KJ Adams is the best player on this team.
Kansas was playing some elite defense when Dickinson went out of the game.
I think in every time I watch Kansas, the player making the most things happen is KJ Adams on both ends. He is such a good passer for his size, and just a guy that, in terms of micro skills, how many players have a better one dribble floater than KJ Adams?
Oh no, it's been great for years. It's been awesome.
He's so good at certain things on the offensive end.
You know what was funny though? He does that right at a really high level, but then he took one with under 2 minutes to go and missed it, and everyone was like, "Yeah, no, not the time for that."
Yeah, I mean, Kansas, whenever Kansas is playing its best basketball, it's always because KJ Adams is doing some crazy shit on the defensive end of the other team's best player. That's why I think KJ Adams is Kansas' best player. Hunter Dickinson, he'll give you 20 and 10, but he'll allow 20 and 10. Hunter Dickinson, you said it to me, he used to take over games defensively. He's the worst defender on the floor every time he's on the floor now.
I don't understand what happened. I guess people just kind of figured out what he doesn't do well and make him do that. Is it the easiest explanation? But
I'm glad he's not shooting as
I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of off here, but like I remember him freshman year being this like good rim protector.
He was. He really was. Like he had games where he legitimately took over on the defensive end.
Do you think that maybe that is a product of the fact that like that Michigan team had some of the like best connective defensive pieces in the country?
It definitely could be, but like, let's not act like Kansas doesn't have DeJuan Harris and KJ.
Right? No, like it's not.
And like Bill freaking self. But like, here's the thing: Hunter Dickinson is not a negative for Kansas. Like they need him.
No, like their half court offense will suck if he's not on the floor.
They need
not all the time, but like overall.
I called you before the game and I said if Duke wins, it's going to be because of whichever guard doesn't. It's going to be because of one of two things: Khan and the guy, and whoever doesn't get the DeJuan Harris matchup in the backcourt. Khan had the looks. He was 0 for 8.
Mm-hmm.
Tyrese Proctor had 15 points in this game. He was 5 for 7 from 3. He didn't get a touch in the last 5 minutes. He didn't get a touch.
Nope.
Duke, and once again, deferred to their freshmen in these late game situations. And again, the freshmen are really good. But when Tyrese Proctor is 5 for 7 from 3, give him the ball at some point. Duke,
where do you want me to start on this Duke side of this?
Duke cannot be losing games when they shoot 59% from 2 and 42% from 3. They cannot be losing those games. They are too good defensively to lose those games. They turned it over 16 times because they kept forcing it. They kept forcing the issue with the players that, for lack of a better term, like they didn't need to force it with. Cooper Flagg had 5 turnovers. Khan had 3. I mean, Proctor had 4, but like he didn't get a touch late in the game.
I mean, you know how like you know how you lose basically 2 1-possession game, like a 1-possession game, like against a team like this. Kansas missed 1 free throw. Like that's obviously not the whole story and not what I'm about to say. But first of all, let's get one thing out of the way. Duke did not go isolation on that final possession.
No.
They ran a play. It got blown up.
Everything blew up. You know why?
There was a couple reasons why. They ran a ghost screen and Kansas switches everything. And it got KJ on Khan, which like I think that's the part you can criticize.
Yep.
Why are you running a ghost screen?
And then Kansas denied the ball to whoever the other guy was at the top of the key. And then Sion James comes in from the corner.
Yeah, that was like, what are you like? Sion has been great this year. What was he doing?
I don't understand it either.
There's no way that like it was supposed to happen where he's like. What probably happened is he probably saw that Adams was on Khan and realized that Khan wasn't probably going to be able to score against Adams and tried to come to the rescue, but it made everything worse.
Yeah, look, Khan, after the Kentucky game, the narrative around it was, oh, he'll never shoot 1 for 8 again. He shoots 0 for 8.
Right. Is this just going to be a thing that like he's going to shoot bad on the road?
If you look at, I'm going to pull something up right now.
Who was it a couple years ago on Michigan that was like, was it Caleb Houston that was like terrible on the road?
I don't remember, but okay. In wins, Khan is shooting 53.6% from 3 on 5 attempts a game. In losses, he's 1 for 16. Good teams make things tough for good shooters. Yeah. Don't force it.
I'm trying to find this right now. keep talking.
I think eventually Khan will be okay because we know how good he is. Like we saw him throughout throughout high school on the AAU circuit and all the buzz that we've heard coming in, and we've seen what he's done against. I mean, we saw what he did against Arizona. Like he was good in that game. He was good against Maine, and who's a really good defensive team. He played pretty well for a guy that shot 0 for 8 from 3 and is an elite 3-point shooter because he started in the second half. He started using his passing ability. He's not known for his passing, but he's got a 19% assist rate right now. So I think that's been impressive on his part.
Him being a good playmaker has been a nice addition.
I don't want to say some look, but
Say
the
it.
one thing the last 2 years about John Shire is that his teams have gotten better as the season goes on.
Mm-hmm.
John Shire has been, although here's the thing, John Shire has been thoroughly outcoached by elite coaches basically every time he faces an elite coach. There haven't been many games where Shire goes band for band with an elite coach. And that's a problem when you're the Duke coach. I don't think it means he's not good. I just think he's not scaling up right now to the level that he needs to be. He has had some really bad late game stuff. Players that just aren't as situationally aware. But it's going to take time. It shouldn't have to take as much time as it's probably going to take.
Mm.
If this Duke team were coached by Bill Self, they'd have won those 2 games. But
don't disagree.
That's not saying. But look, they're a couple possessions away from doing it. It's just that we are hyper analyzing those possessions because it's Duke. John Shire has a huge opportunity in front of him on Wednesday. We'll talk about that later in the show. And then they play Louisville away on Thursday. On Sunday. Oh my God, they do not play games on back-to-back days. But it's a big week for John Shire. A big week. A week where he could potentially pick up 2 big wins or 2, maybe not bad losses, but notable losses.
I found what I was looking for, by the way.
What was it?
In 2021, 2022, Caleb Houston, freshman for Michigan, that may be in the NBA right now. I don't know. Shot 35% from 3 on the season. Not awful, not great, but not awful. He shot 48% from 3 at home, 98th percentile. On the road, 29%, 31st percentile.
All right.
So that could be a thing.
All right, we've got to run through some more stuff because, again, we're halfway through page 1.
I like how you just put Tomislav as the better twin.
He is.
Undeniable.
Illinois, Arkansas. Illinois ran them the whole game. Illinois 6-1. Only loss is a semi-away game in Birmingham against Alabama. They come out, they go to Kansas City, and they win the battle of the brothers. Tomislav Ivasic, 21 points, 10 rebounds, 3 blocks, 2 steals. He fouled out in 30 minutes. His brother, Zvonimir, 13 points, 6 rebounds, 2 blocks, 2 steals in 22 minutes. Tomislav had the upper hand. He hit 6 threes. Tomislav is hitting 38% of his threes, but it doesn't feel like they're forced.
No, a lot of them are off pick and pop stuff.
He's been awesome for them. I know he's technically a sophomore, but Illinois has 3 key players who are in their first year of college basketball. And yeah, Will Riley struggled in this game. Will Riley's a gifted scorer. It'll take him some time to, I think, fully get going. I know his numbers right now are really good.
Oh, he'll have nights like that.
He'll have his 30-point nights and he'll have his 6-point nights. But you know who won't have who won't have many bad nights? That's Kasparis Jakachonis.
Mm-hmm.
This guy, he's going to be a lottery pick.
Oh yeah.
He is.
He might replace might replace my Cooper Flag picture if the Bulls start winning some games.
Jack Jonas, 23 points. He scored the last 17 in this game to put it away for Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
He is just.
He took over.
He's fast. He gets down the lane. He's 6'6". He passes. An incredible passer. He does everything. I thought Kylan Boswell had a good game. He was impressive on the defensive end. But I think the biggest storyline out of this game is that, like, John Calipari hasn't learned it. And
what'd you say? I coughed.
John Calipari still hasn't learned anything. This is the same.
Don't worry. I heard you the first time.
This is the same old crap. How much are they paying for John L. Davis?
I'm pretty sure it's more million than he's scoring points per game.
Okay, that's probably not true. He is scoring 8.4. But he's scoring 8.4. John L. Davis averaged 18.2 points per game last year at FAU. That was the 47th best team in the country. He's playing on 43rd best team in the country right now, and he's averaging 8. Like, they need to be better. He needs to be better. He needs to be way better. Boogie Fland, this was his first. The Baylor game was his first big game, and he was good in that game. This was his second big game, and Illinois now has a scout on him in a big game, and he sucked. He was 2 for 12 from the field. He had 1 assist. They completely took him out. Underwood, who has, in my opinion, raised his stock so much in the last 365 days, really. Brad Underwood completely undressed Calipari in this game in every way possible. Adu Thiero being Arkansas's best player is a major problem.
This is reaching like Jim Boeheim levels of washed.
I don't know about that.
No. The level of talent they have. Sorry. The level of talent.
You know what would have been nice if they maybe used their last few scholarships
instead of taking Melo Sanchez and Joe Schmo and his friends. Don't worry though. Keep not playing Jonas Adu, who was phenomenal for Tennessee last year, to play Zvonimir Ivasic and not even use him correctly.
Well, Adu was hurt, kind of looking back.
But regardless,
and he hasn't been good this year, just straight up.
Only John Calipari could ruin Jonas Adu. But by the way, I mean it. This is like Jim Boeheim levels of washed. And you want to call me crazy? Who made him Sweet 16 more recently? John Calipari and Jim Boeheim.
That's crazy. To be fair, Jim Boeheim also didn't win 20 games in his last 6 years.
Real quick, you said a lot of it, but credit to Illinois here. They played really well. Casper's closed it out for them. We probably should have known that Illinois was going to be pretty damn good when Brad Underwood, for the second consecutive season, allowed one of his rotation players to redshirt. He did it with Sincere Harris, who played.
And we'll talk about Sincere Harris because I thought he's been really good.
Oh, dude, he is the worst offensive player I've ever seen in my life. He'll give it to you on the defensive end.
Look, Ty Rodgers and Sincere Harris aren't that different.
They aren't. They really aren't. One's a little stockier.
All right. You want to talk about the money?
By the way, he's going to play limited minutes, but I'm not surprised that Morez Johnson's making an impact for Illinois.
Shall we talk about the money games?
Oh yeah, the money games.
I was listening to the Ion College Basketball podcast about this, and they were they had a totally different opinion on it than I did.
What did they say?
I hate that it's all about the money. They kept bringing it up every 3 minutes on the broadcast. Oh, they're
I mean,
I don't like that. Come on, play basketball.
yeah, but
This
like,
event, and I am so bearish on the future of this event because nobody went. It's novel, it's new, it's year one, and nobody cared. Unless they can get like a Duke, a Kansas, a Kentucky, nobody's gonna care.
doing a big college basketball event in Vegas does not usually work unless it's a standalone game.
There's a reason the biggest early season events that people talk about are in small venues.
Mm-hmm.
There isn't enough interest outside of Kansas, Kentucky, North Carolina, really, like Indiana, like those schools. There isn't enough interest outside of that to get fans to travel thousands of miles in huge numbers for early season events.
Dude, stick them in a ballroom in South Dakota, and that's where the magic happens. And pray the lights don't turn off.
But the problem is, I don't think you can brand it as like this huge money thing and then play it anywhere but Vegas.
Right. Like,
okay, moving on to the actual hoop. Oregon is undefeated, champions of the Players Era Invitation.
This is really interesting.
I'm not convinced they're all that good.
Okay.
I'm convinced they're good. I'm not convinced they're like a top 15 team. And this is coming from someone who had them like at 17 preseason. I'm not
so Oregon, one of the reasons that Oregon is so interesting right now is because like I don't think that like it should not be possible for a team to come out and look as unimpressive as Oregon did for the first 5 3/4 games of their season and just like completely turn it on as like the competition got.
I don't even think they looked that awesome against Alabama.
I thought they looked pretty damn good against San Diego State.
Yes, I would agree. That game was on Max though, so I didn't watch it. But in the Alabama game, like I think Alabama kind of self-inflicted a lot of those wounds.
I mean, listen, Alabama turned it over.
I will say, like, Nate Biddle is a guy.
Dude, another guy, just like stay healthy.
Like Nate Biddle has been one of the best big men in college basketball this year. What do you know what he's averaging? Nate Biddle's averaging 15 and 9.
I was gonna say 13 and 11.
He's averaging 15 and 9. Yeah. Like he averaged last time we saw him for a full season, he averaged 7 and 5.
So Keyshawn Bartholomew played the game of his life against Bama. He was like a complete net negative for them last year. And he's been great. I don't know. Like, Oregon's been really inconsistent in the last few years under Dana. Obviously was, an overtime period away from a Sweet 16 last year.
They're also an overtime period away from a loss to Portland.
Yeah. Might just be what we get. They can beat good teams. They can lose to bad ones. We kind of have known that about Oregon for a while, but now they have these 3 great wins.
Yeah, really impressed with the resume. The resume is better than the team is right now, but I still believe that this buys them margin for error to kind of get better. Like that is huge.
Yeah, I mean,
and they play USC on Wednesday. We'll talk about them later. They should win that game handily. Then UCLA on Sunday, and we don't. And UCLA has lost its only challenge so far. So that'll be an interesting one. So early Big Ten, early Pac-12 after dark. We're still calling it that because those aren't Big Ten games. Those are Pac-12 games that count for the Big Ten standings. But just moving from Oregon, Alabama. Alabama is 6-2. Their 2 losses are Purdue and Oregon. They won against Houston. They won against Rutgers. They won against like their schedule has been challenging, and they go to the Dean Dome on Wednesday. By the way, game at the Dean Dome and game at Cameron on the same night. Huge game. And I think NC State's at home too that night. Like we'll talk Alabama, NC State, Alabama, UNC a little later. Then Creighton, and they go to North Dakota, and we already saw what can happen when a team goes on the road to a mid-major. Alabama did not shy away from challenging themselves, and they're going to come out of this with a couple big wins and a couple losses to good teams.
Did you ever? Ken Palm's preseason defensive rating for Alabama was 30. They had him as the 30th best defense in the country in the preseason. Did you ever really buy that?
No. Look,
they're down to 48th.
Cliff's playing 43% of the minutes.
Yeah, they're down to 48th, which isn't still terrible. But
Cliff has played over 20 minutes once.
And he's been very good when he's out there.
Yeah, but the problem is he doesn't fit what they're trying to do offensively.
Mm-hmm.
But now Latrell Wrightsell is hurt. And he's hurt, and Youngblood is hurt. And they're going to need, I mean, how much can you play Sears, Holloway, Phylon together? Like, Phylon's tremendous defensively, but he's not a 3.
Yeah, if you've watched Bama over the last year, you know they're better than with Wrightsell on the floor.
Oh, no doubt.
Than off it.
Like Wrightsell really helps them on the defensive end, and that's a big loss. But LeBaron Phylon's been their best player this year.
Oh yeah, easily. I mean, Sears pulled himself out of a game 2 weeks
Mark
ago.
Sears, I was both the 3-man weave and Eye on College Basketball kind of mention out every single stat Mark Sears is down. Like, didn't we talk about this on the SEC preview? That like Mark Sears was not going to get better. He had a season that was basically unreplicable last year. Don't be mad that he's not there. There's some variance right now. He took over in that game against Rutgers. He had a big game against Houston. He's fine.
Yeah.
There's a lot of, are you worried about Mark Sears? No, I'm not worried about Mark Sears. And I'm not worried about Houston either. Even though they lost to San Diego State, they've lost 3 games. Sure, they're 0-3 against teams in the top 70 of Ken. But okay, maybe they're not a 1 seed this year, and they're a 2 seed or a 3 seed instead. Like they lost 4 games last season in the regular. They lost 3 in the regular season, and then the Big 12 championship game.
I thought Gary Parrish made a good point when they lost to Auburn. They just might not have the caliber of player that they had with Sasser and Jamal Shedd this year, and that's fine. They'll still be really good, but
might not be the best team in the country though.
Yeah, I mean,
Uzan's got to be better.
Yeah, and he's done some good things for them, but
fouled out of 2 of their last 3 games.
Foul out of every game.
Yeah, he's fouled out of all 3 of their losses. Fouled out in 12 minutes against Alabama.
Yeah.
Don't really have much more on Houston. Do they have a big game this week?
Not worried. They've lost
They played Butler. We'll get into that later.
Not worried. They've lost 3 close games, all to teams who I think are good.
Speaking of teams that Houston lost to, San Diego State, 4-2, best block rate in the country defense, one of the best interior defenses in the country. Magoon Guath, Jared Coleman-Jones, and Miles Bird has taken a step, and Nick Boyd is awesome.
So I saw some things being said about San Diego State when they lost to Gonzaga, during the game, and just didn't think that they were accurate. This team has some real juice athletically, and it's showing, like you mentioned, with the block rate and the 2-point defense.
They are really good defensively, and
Right.
that's like I looked at this roster in the preseason, and I thought it would slant offense. What the hell was I thinking?
Brian Dutcher's defense, man.
Like legitimately, what the hell was I like? I'm gonna look back and read what I wrote right now. What the hell was I thinking?
I would like to see them rely a little less on Nick Boyd. He has been good for them this year, but I think getting his usage down a little bit could overall help their offense and giving more chances to guys like BJ Davis, who has been really freaking good this year. What would
I
help
think
them a lot.
ah ah I liked I thought Wayne McKinney would kind of be a much bigger piece, um I thought Heidi would be a bigger piece, and those guys, and
Oh
I
yeah,
and
less
Reese Waters.
less Miles Heidi minutes.
Yeah, bad, very bad. I also kind of thought Coleman Jones would be a bigger feature offensively. Didn't think Boyd would be the guy, which is strange. Like he was never this at FAU, but he was much better 2 years ago than he was last year.
Mhm.
He did kind of figure it out middle of the year last year, but never really got consistently going like he did 2 years ago.
No, his sophomore season at FAU was elite.
But good for him. And then the best player, the best player at the players era was Dylan Harper.
Yeah, best freshman in the country right now.
No doubt in my mind, he is a legitimate National Player of the Year contender at the moment.
Mhm.
He scored 36 points in an overtime win against Notre Dame. He scored 37 points against Alabama. Dylan Harper gets to the rim whenever he wants. He gets to the line whenever he wants. It's unreal. It's like he's floating when he's driving to the basket. Nobody can keep him away from the basket. And his finishing around the rim, he has so much to go to. I was so impressed with how Texas A&M defended him, just keeping him 4-14, keeping him at an arm's length from the rim, because Alabama and Notre Dame couldn't do that. Kennesaw State couldn't do that. St. Peter's Wagner couldn't do that. Nobody can do that. And Texas A&M did a really good job of that. But Dylan Harper this year, has been the best freshman in college basketball. He's averaging 24 points, 4.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists on 51% from the field, and he's not even shooting it well. Those are silly numbers.
Yep.
Anything to add on Dylan before I kind of talk a little bit more about Rutgers?
Yeah, you remember in the offseason when I told you he was going to lead the Big Ten in assists?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is he leading the Big Ten in assists?
I don't know. I mean, conference play hasn't even started yet.
No. Braden's leading the Big Ten in assists.
Yeah.
Braden's averaging like 9.5 a game or something.
Dylan Harper's assist rate is 31.1. His turnover rate is 10.7.
Anyway, I mean, Ace Bailey, another guy who just like
he is being asked. He is being asked to take the load on 31.1% of Rutgers possessions when he's on the floor.
Dylan, you're on Dylan.
Yeah. He is 43rd nationally in usage rate. And he is still nationally ranked in offensive rating, effective field goal percentage, and true shooting percentage.
Zach Martinez played 48% of the minutes, and I don't think I've noticed him once.
You know who I have noticed? Jordan Durkak.
Oh yeah, Jordan Durkak has been one of the best players on the floor whenever he's been on the floor. Just defensively, he's everywhere. Playmaking has been awesome. The whole Ace Bailey paint touch discourse. What are your thoughts on that,
dude? I haven't seen a lot of this. Explain to me your perspective.
The Ace Bailey paint touch discourse is all the NBA people freaking out because Ace Bailey isn't getting to the rim.
Yeah, because he weighs 200 pounds at 6'10 right now. What?
Do you know how many rim attempts he has this year?
How many?
14. That's not a lot of rim attempts. It's
No,
second
it's not.
percentile in rim percentage rate.
I mean,
but like I do think there was a possession where I just saw him like, dude, ace, turn and burn, use your speed. But like he's a good enough tough shot maker that he doesn't need to get to the rim on every possession. I would like to see him like be a little bit more aggressive and try to get to the line a little bit more. But I'm not worried.
Okay, like can I just like watch Ace Bailey and like I watched Rutgers a couple times in this tournament. It feels like there were multiple times.
We've got the bots in our comments.
Huh?
We've got the bots in our comments right now.
Great.
Just restart that. This could be flipped.
Okay, so am I not allowed to watch Ace Bailey make these ridiculous shots every game and just like acknowledge these are shots that NBA players make? Who is this dude?
I don't know, man. If you come onto the stream and say what's the topic or ask about football, I'm gonna assume you're a bot, like just straight up.
Brackets, bubbles, and bid stealers. Very obviously an NFL show.
Yes. Virginia basketball sucks. Those are our thoughts.
Yeah.
We don't really have much to add there.
If you've watched Virginia basketball and your takeaway has been anything other than like, I understand why Tony Bennett left when he did, like.
All right, back to Rutgers. We have a 3-page long rundown here. We can't really get sidetracked.
Yeah,
we're still on page 1, by the way.
Dude, like, listen, Ace has been good. He's gonna have game like similar to Will Riley. He's gonna have games where he's off because he takes some really tough shots. But you know what? Not many guys can hit the shots that Ace Bailey does. I am just going off this comment section right now.
I'm sorry. I gotta handle this.
Yeah, I think with your concern with Rutgers right now is nothing that happened this week in Vegas. It's the fact that they lost to Kennesaw State. And, you know, we talked a little about the whole discourse surrounding high majors going on the road to mid majors on last Sunday night when we did this. But right now, Rutgers is 70th in KenPom. If Rutgers is 70th in KenPom at the end of the season, they're not making the NCAA tournament.
No doubt. Do you think they'll get better? I do.
Yeah, because they're a young team.
They're 70th in KenPom. Like, how much of that is like they lost to like they played St. Peter's pretty close, and St. Peter's is like a tough, gritty team. They played Merrimack pretty close, and Merrimack's a tough, gritty team. They lost on the road to Kennesaw State. Like, that's going to be bad. Like, that's going to look bad on their resume. Rutgers is going to need big wins in the Big Ten. But what about this team tells you that they can't get all of those big wins in the Big Ten? Like, they have all the talent necessary to get those big wins in the Big Ten. I will say, I wish there was more PJ Hayes.
I wish there was more PJ Hayes. I wish there was more Lathan Somerville as well.
Yes, Somerville's their best big.
I think that's really when Rutgers turns
better. He's better than Ogbole.
That minutes disparity needs to be much larger between Somerville and Ogbole.
Yeah, the problem was he fouled out against Texas A&M in 13 minutes. Quick hitters, Creighton's not that good.
Creighton stinks. Notre Dame stinks. Notre Dame doesn't stink.
Well, Marcus Burton's hurt.
How long is he out?
Couple weeks, and he's going to miss that game against Syracuse next week.
If Syracuse loses,
I mean that's going to be like a 4-point game, no matter what. Notre Dame plays Georgia. Well, we got, I didn't even realize we have to add the ACC, SEC stuff to the end of this.
I mean, we could do a quick show tomorrow night.
No, we can't. I have to do work. It's
Okay.
finals week coming up. I don't know if I can pod until like Thursday.
Do you have like actual finals in the J
I
school?
have projects.
Okay, yeah.
But like group projects.
Mm.
I don't know if I
You
can
know, that's
pod.
actually probably a good call. I actually also have to do a project tomorrow night.
I might need to. I might not be able to pod until Thursday,
That's
but I
fine.
want to do. But I mean, we'll talk about this later. Because we still have a crap load of stuff to run through. Now we're gonna be a lot quicker through everything after Atlantis,
Mhm.
probably. But there's one discussion after that I want to get into. Atlantis, the team that won Atlantis. I'm going to personally call out Matt Watkins right now because when I told him that I thought Oklahoma wasn't bad in the offseason, he laughed at me, legitimately laughed at me. Who's laughing now? And it's not even because Duke Miles is awesome.
Clearly
He
wasn't
is.
Pat Kelsey.
Oklahoma is 7-0. They're 41st in Ken Palm. They won Battle for Atlantis, and they have one of the best freshmen in college basketball in Jeremiah Fears, Jonathan.
Dude, he's like one of the best reclass guards ever. I mean, he's doing everything for them. They beat Providence, they beat Arizona, they beat Louisville. Didn't really play anyone before then, but you know, we're handling business. Jeremiah Fears from Joliet, Illinois, played for AZ Compass last year. Reclassed late, was actually committed to Illinois originally, and then committed to Oklahoma late to reclass. He's absurd.
He's so fast.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he is a blur getting the basket.
I haven't seen him play in person since he was a sophomore.
But I mean, I haven't ever seen him play in person. But
I know. I just
he's
like
awesome. He's awesome. He's really fast.
Like,
he gets shots. He's
no,
good.
I'm just clearing this up for you because, like, you know, he played in the Chicagoland area, and you know, it's probably reasonable to ask like a person like me who watches a lot of Chicago high school basketball, like, hey, why didn't we see this coming? And because it's because one, like this system's clearly working for him. Two, he's clearly taken major strides in not even the last year, like the last couple months at Oklahoma.
There was so much buzz coming from that camp in the offseason about how good he looked. Maybe we should have taken it seriously. He's been not just their best player, but like he's an all SEC caliber player right now.
Listen, I heard from I was told by reliable sources that he would end up being better than his brother. I didn't think that would be this year.
And Jeremy's been good this year too.
Yeah, Jeremy's played well.
Jeremy's been good this year. I've been pleasantly surprised by how well he's played.
Listen, like we talk a lot about Phylon. I talked a lot about Ace and Newell with you last week. Fears is right there with those guys for freshman of the year in the SEC.
Yep. Moving forward on Jalen Moore is their leading scorer right now.
He dominated against Arizona.
I don't know if this is gonna. I don't think this is gonna hold. I don't think he's gonna continue shooting as well as he is. I don't think he's. I just don't think he's an 18-point a game guy. If he's an 18-point a game guy, this is a top 25 team. I think Sam Godwin has given them everything they could ask for down low.
Mm-hmm.
They have so much playmaking on the defensive end.
Godwin guards really well.
Like Godwin's been great. Mo Wag has been great when he's played. Glenn Taylor is a really good defensive playmaker. Duke Miles, like he's not been awesome. He hasn't been shouldering a huge load offensively. I mean, he's been awesome, but he hasn't been shouldering a huge load. He's shooting well and he's making plays. Like that's what that.
Yeah.
They just need him to kind of be They don't need him to be the do-everything point guard because Jeremiah Fears is that. Jeremiah Fears is basically having the season that I thought Duke Miles was going to have. And Kobe Elvis has been good. And he's been making plays on both ends. Porter Moser, has he already saved his job?
Let's be careful with Oklahoma because they also started really well last year, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, they were 10-0.
We're 10-0.
Their wins weren't as convincing. And I will say also, like Arizona might not be good.
Oh, you are.
I had this a little lower. Arizona just straight up might not be good.
We thought Arizona was going to be really good defensively, and they just aren't.
Because they don't know like who to play and when. Krivas has not been able to stay out of foul trouble. Visar the same way. So they kind of have to jumble their rotations. They can't like script the games.
It's just what they're doing defensively does not make a lot of sense. Like they were switching with Krivas in the game and playing drop with Awaka. You would think it would be the opposite.
Yeah.
Anthony Del Orso just has to play more. Like, forget his defense. He's the only one on this team that can shoot.
It's when Love isn't shooting, absolutely.
Carter Bryant has shown some flashes, but he again, he's a long way from. Huh?
Can't shoot.
No, yeah, he's shown some flashes.
Not right now. I actually think he will be a shooter eventually.
Yeah, I mean, KJ Lewis has been.
I think Carter Bryant's an NBA player.
Huh?
I think Carter Bryant's an NBA player.
Oh, he'll eventually be one, but he's a long way away right now.
Trey Townsend just hasn't been as good as I hoped. I just think like everybody on this team hasn't been quite as good as I hoped.
Unless there is a significant progression with multiple players on this team, you won't hear me complain about the shots Caleb Love is taking all year. He has to.
Yeah.
Him taking bad shots in some of these games are better than like a lot of these other shots that their guys are taking. Also, he's not turning the ball over. So like you'll live with the bad shots.
West Virginia played 3 straight overtime games. The third was against Arizona. Tucker DeVries had 26 points. He had 8 threes. A couple of them were tough. A couple of them were wide open. Like,
it's another thing that like I was confused with about Arizona. Like Tucker comes out and hits 8 threes. 4 of them probably were like really deep threes. And it's just like how are we not scouting this? Like this is what Tucker does. Toby Okani was also really good.
Toby Okani has been very good.
I don't know how much you can get away with playing Sincere Harris 32 minutes in Big 12 play.
I think it can. I think you can get away with that.
I don't know, man. Like you're playing 4 on 5. You're playing 4 on 5 on the offensive end.
Look. I know he's not a good offensive player, but he's a better offensive player than he has been. And he's
not a good offensive player is an understatement.
Yeah, look. He's not an 0 for 3-point shooter.
What, you don't think he's going to go? He's 0 for 13. I think he's not a good shooter. Why is he taking those?
I think he's capable of making some shots and spacing the floor. I think he's capable of taking the ball and making some plays. Like, not much. There's not much. I don't think there's much that he does on the offensive end.
Teams against West Virginia.
I think he's capable of being a connector on that end. And I think he is just awesome on defense.
He is great on defense. But when teams play West Virginia, when he's in the game, they're going to take their worst defensive player on the floor and tell him, hey, you, go like, follow him, but keep 2 feet in the lane at all times.
Yeah, look, and at the end of the day, you have the shot makers to get away with that when you have Tucker and Javon Small.
Shout out KJ Tenner, by the way. I
Both of
I
their
didn't think he was a
freshmen.
high major player when I scouted him, but he's been impressive in limited action for them.
Both of their freshmen have been good.
Mhm.
Tenor and
Yeah,
Powell.
I mean, why do I doubt Darren? He's a great guy. He IDs talent as well as anyone.
And hand up, Javon Small rocks.
Shout out Isaac. He said it.
Yeah, Isaac Trotter knows way more ball than me. Okay, he knows a lot of ball. Revised statement. I will never come. I don't want to come on this podcast and say someone knows more ball than me, because then you'll tune out and listen to their podcast.
Yeah. All right. Anything Louisville? Indiana?
Yes, we have to talk about every team.
Don't know where you want to go next.
The outline.
Dude, I don't really.
Louisville.
I mean, we kind of skipped Louisville.
Yeah, but we're coming back to them.
Okay.
First on
Gonzaga
Louisville.
panic meter. Are you out of your mind?
I don't know why I put that in there. Because they lost one game, I think, is why I put it.
They lost one game to a team who actually might be good.
Yeah.
And totally shouldn't have lost, by the way.
I just didn't want to create a whole other segment for them.
No, you're fine.
Gonzaga's
I don't think we're
really
going to spend that much time on Gonzaga anyway.
Yeah, Gonzaga is good. We're done with Gonzaga.
Mm-hmm. I mean, they murdered two teams that one of them's okay and the other is not playing.
Louisville has a star. Chucky Hepburn's a star. Chucky Hepburn looks so free. I didn't think that playing fast, up tempo, kind of in transition would be the best fit for Chucky, because we'd never seen it from him at Wisconsin. They never did that. But man, he looks like a different player. He is fearless attacking the basket right now. He was never like this at Wisconsin. He kind of stepped away, kind of faded away when he drove. Now he's going up. He's 72% inside the arc, and he's got a 51% free throw rate. He had 16 steals in 3 games in Atlantis. He is the number 1 player in the country in steal rate. Louisville has, maybe they're not that deep right now, because they don't have Abubakar Traore and Corin Johnson. Once those guys are healthy, and I think Abubakar Traore might be, okay, Chucky's the best player on this team. Abubakar Traore might be the second best player on this team, because Terrence Edwards hasn't been as good as I thought he was going to be.
Right, that's the surprising part. They've played well without Terrence Edwards being very good at all.
And Kaysen Pryor has been solid, but he's shooting 15% from 3.
Okay, my thing about Kaysen Pryor this season is he's still rebounding the ball really well at the high major level, which was kind of a little bit of our concern with him. But he does need to shoot it better.
Yeah, but he can handle the ball. He does a lot for them. I think it's a well-constructed team, especially when you get Traore and Corin Johnson back. They've been really good defensively. They pounded Indiana. And Indiana lost 2 of 3, and they're bad.
Good call on James Scott, by the way. He's been good.
Yeah, I mean, James Scott is super athletic. Super athletic. And also Waterman's shooting 24% from 3 right now. Waterman, Edwards, and Pryor are shooting under 25% from 3.
This team's not going to be the 298th best three-point shooting team in the country.
This team,
guarantee that.
They are better. They are honestly a little better than what we've seen from them. They were okay. Indiana sucks. There's no other way to put it. They are bad.
Are we transitioning? Because I still had 2 more thoughts.
Okay, go give your thoughts on
real quick. One, did you see the Pat Kelsey handshake line thing?
Yes, I don't care.
That was weird. Don't know why he did that, and then the other thing is something I've been looking into as conference plays coming up this week is, I've been looking into some conference schedules because, kind of helps to look at those to decide to bet who to win the league. Louisville plays Duke once, it's at home. Louisville plays North Carolina once, it's at home. They play Pitt twice, they play Clemson once, it's at home. Louisville can win the ACC. Schedule's there for it.
Indiana does not have a schedule. They have no good non-conference.
Indiana does not have a real basketball team.
They don't have internet. No internet in Indiana right now. Actually, the internet came back on Saturday.
Lights out, nobody's home.
The internet came back on Saturday. But yeah.
Congrats, you beat a Providence team who is
football. Congrats, you beat a team worse than Providence. If you put Providence basketball out there, they'd be a better football team than Purdue.
So
anyway, Indiana, they're next. They have 4 non-conference games left. Sam Houston State, Miami, Ohio, Chattanooga, Winthrop. None of those are up games. They have played 2 up games this year. They lost by 28 and they lost by 16. They are 53rd in KenPom in a year that Mike Woodson absolutely must make the NCAA tournament and also be good. Like they spent how much money? $5 million could have been reported on this roster. Umar Ballo is making how much money, and he's been great, but they can't play with him. He had 19 points in the first half against Gonzaga, and he was a -15.
So is this where I go on my my 3-point shooting rant?
Go ahead, talk.
So Indiana right now shooting 35.8% as a team, good for 89th in the country. You would think to yourself, not terrible, right? Massive improvement from a year ago. However, the thing about 3-point shooting that nobody, for some reason, ever seems to realize is there are 2 components to being a good 3-point shooting player and a good 3-point shooting team. First, the percentage. Are you making your shots? The second is volume. Indiana right now is 350th in 3-point attempts. I don't care if Indiana is making 89, is making near 36% of their threes. You can't be a good 3-point shooting team if you're not shooting threes a lot.
You know?
Yeah.
Jonathan, Indiana has 7 lineups that have played at least 15 possessions.
Does the best one include Landon Hagden? Haddon.
He has not been in any of them.
Oh, I don't think he's played enough.
Their number 1 lineup, their starting lineup this season, is their 5th best lineup.
That's a problem.
Their best 4 lineups include Trey Galloway. 2 of their top 3 lineups include Luke Goody. Their 3rd best lineup includes Bryson Tucker. None of their top 3 lineups include Kanan Carlisle. Now, their worst defensive lineup is the only one of these lineups without Umar Ballo. Okay, fine. But do they need Renew, Mbako, and Ballo on the floor together at the same time? I mean, I know that their best lineup has that, but that's also not a good defensive lineup. And what are you really going to that lineup for? What are you going to a giant lineup for if you're not getting defense out of it? Play Goody. Play Luke Goody. He's played 43% of the minutes, and he's not even shooting that well. And he's still been part of this team's 2 or 3 best lineups. Just play him more. I promise you. Mike Woodson, play him more. Run stuff for him. This team will be better for it. Also, Langdon Hatton played really well against Gonzaga for 3 minutes.
Also, don't go to the casino the night before your game.
Yeah. Moving on from Indiana. Providence. I want to talk about Davidson first.
Okay.
Davidson has 3 legitimate dudes on this roster. Reed Bailey, Connor Kuchera, and Bobby Durkin. All these guys are scoring the crap out of the ball at the moment. They played awesome in their win against they played really well in their win against Providence. These 3 guys right now, 17, 16, and 15 points a game. All of them averaging more than 4 rebounds, more than 2.5 assists. They're all shooting over 50% from the field. Durkin's shooting 46% from 3. They don't Durkin was so good at the start of last year. Dudes, he was at the top of their scouting report. Now, with the way that Kuchera and Bailey are playing, it frees up Durkin. And Durkin's been playing his best basketball of his college career. Kuchera's playing his best basketball of his college career. Reed Bailey has taken another step forward. And I just really like what this Davidson team is doing right now. I came away from this tournament. I know they got blown out by Arizona and Gonzaga, but the way I am in on Davidson as a team that has a chance to be a top 6 team in the A10, maybe.
Yeah, I'd say even higher.
Oh, they have a chance to be like a top 5 team. I just think I would say more of a chance to be a top 6 team.
Yeah, I don't think.
I mean, Dayton, VCU, St. Louis, Loyola, and then there's if St. Louis is healthy, and then there's a tier of maybe Rhode Island, maybe St. Joe's, Bona's. Who knows about George Mason, and Davidson's in that tier.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about Bona's a little bit.
Yeah, we mentioned this team on the A10 pod as maybe the sleeper to win the league, or at least to kind of come out of nowhere. And it's the simple things, you don't turn it over a lot. You shoot the ball well. Defense and rebounding could, especially in the offensive end, very obviously needs to get better. But I think losing to Arizona, a team that's far more athletic than you are, and then losing to a Gonzaga team that we believe is one of the best in the country. No shame in that. You took care of business before this tournament. You won a road game at Bowling Green. You beat East Tennessee State, who we think is quite all right. And then you beat Providence, who has their own issues right now. I'm excited to watch this team during conference play in an A10 conference that is
and
the parity is not lost.
It does seem like Nick Koval is redshirting, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'm kind of disappointed in that. But know what?
They don't need him right now.
I can victory lap it in a year when he's good.
All right. I have Providence that segues us into another conversation. Providence went 0-3. Providence escaped against Central Connecticut on opening night. They barely beat Hampton. Right. Providence is 94th in KenPom right now. They don't have Bryce Hopkins. They don't have Bryce Hopkins. But they're who is number 1 on Providence in usage rate right now, Jonathan, without looking?
Bensley Joseph?
Yeah.
It's Cole.
I don't think that's the proper reaction for that.
I'm saying
the proper reaction is being frankly horrified.
Bryce Hopkins isn't fixing this.
Yeah, Bryce Hopkins isn't fixing the fact that.
Sorry, Bryce Hopkins is not worth 50 spots in KenPom. He's just not.
Bryce Hopkins isn't fixing the fact that Priest Sandico is still the same player that he was last year at St. Joe's. He's still not good.
88 offensive rating. Yikes.
Jabri Abdur-Rahim isn't shooting fine, but Jaden Pierre is. Jaden Pierre's not a great shooter, and he's shooting 46% from 3. That's not going to hold. This team has no big man. They have no big man. Priest stinks. Oswin, not ready yet. They're playing Eli Delorier 13 minutes against it. What? No, that's not a thing. Bonky is nothing. All that for nothing. They have no bigs. This team's best player so far this year has been Jaden Pierre. And we know what Jaden Pierre is.
Do we think it's also a problem that the guys that Providence has gotten out of the high school level outside of Oswin are not Big East players? I mean,
I'd say the last player that Providence got from the high school level and developed like into being a legit Big East contributor. Pierre. Okay, Barron.
Kim English's first class. It's his first class, but he brought 2 kids from George Mason with them. Neither of them can play at this level.
Garwe Dual couldn't play at the Big East level last year for them either. And that was supposed to be really high. I am like this. I've watched now Kim English basketball the last couple of years. They were 125th in offense last year. They were 131st in offense this year. They don't run anything good. They don't have the playmakers. They don't have the shooters. Bryce Hopkins isn't fixing this. Bryce Hopkins is worth 30 spots in KenPom, maybe. But who knows if Bryce Hopkins is the Bryce Hopkins that we know?
Right. Like, he's coming off a major injury. We still don't know what he's going to be. We think he's going to be good. We don't know if he's going to be the player he was a couple years ago. Dude, that was such a good meme. I don't want to get sidetracked here, but that was so funny.
All right. On Providence. So the Big East got 3 bids last year. We know that. That's been discussed ad nauseum.
Dude, it has been so bad that I've been looking for a Patelis Big East 0 bid league tweet.
Do you know how many teams in the Big East right now have a positive wins above bubble?
Marquette?
Okay, it's more than I thought. There's 5. But how many of them have more than 1 win above bubble?
Marquette. And the Johnnies.
Nope.
Butler?
No, there's 1.
It's just Marquette.
Just Marquette. Marquette is the only team in the Big East right now
who is legitimately good
with 1 win above bubble. Okay, there's only 19 teams with plus 1 win above bubble. Sorry about that. But like, even with that, Marquette as the only team in this conference and Butler is second wins above bubble. Butler is second in this conference and wins above bubble. We don't think Butler's good.
No, they had a great week, but
they had a great week. Xavier is 4th, and they're 77th in Torvik right now.
But yeah, they're 67th in KenPom. They got blasted by Michigan.
If we take out preseason priors, Xavier's 101.
Wait a second. Xavier beat South Carolina State by 3 points today?
Yep.
I was on the road all day and did not see that.
Right now, if you sort for outside of preseason filters, how many teams in the Big East are in the top 50 in Torvik?
I would assume it's just Marquette.
And St. John's.
Okay.
Marquette's 15th, St. John's is 20th. Providence is 162nd.
Is that good?
Do you know what Seton Hall's offense and defense split is in preseason no preseason bias?
What?
Guess.
By split, you mean what are their rankings?
Yes.
I'll say their offense is 321st, and their defense is 22nd.
Oh, it's funnier than that. Their
offense, no way! It cannot possibly be funnier than that.
Their offense is 349. Their defense is 5th.
I know the NIL situation is bad there, but
I'm honestly impressed at how good their defense is with who they have on the floor.
I'm honestly impressed at how bad their offense is. That should be impossible.
To be fair, yes. But this is a team that is playing Gus Yalden 23% of the minutes, and they're 5th without preseason priors in defense. They're 4th in Torvik defense.
Dude, looking at Seton Hall's scouting report on KenPom is so funny. The entire left column is just red.
And the entire other column is green.
And you know what the funny thing is?
They're shooting it.
They're shooting 37% from 3.
They lost to Monmouth yesterday. They scored 0.85 points per possession against Monmouth.
who came into the game, by the way, without a win.
By the way, shout out Abdi Bashir. He's been one of the best shooters in the country this year. He's made 35 threes. He has not missed a free throw.
21 of 21 at the free throw line. Not good enough for third.
Moving on. But the Big East is in a bad spot right now because, okay, we'll get to the Big East Big 12 challenge later. But like, if the Big East doesn't win like a lot of those games, Creighton, Providence, Villanova, UConn, all have home games.
Dude, you texted me the other day and said Creighton hosts Kansas this week. They will lose by 25.
Creighton, like these games are so important for the Big East because we're probably looking at right now. If the tournament field was selected today, the Big East would have 2 teams in.
Yeah.
Marquette and St. John.
No, three. DePaul, undefeated. Can't leave an undefeated team out.
Okay, DePaul's good. DePaul's legitimately good, though. Like, they are legitimately good basketball.
I'm going to the bathroom real quick.
DePaul's played absolutely nobody. Like, legitimately. Their schedule has been horrific. And they played Texas Tech this week. But, like, DePaul legitimately been good this year. They're killing bad teams, and that's what you need to do. They killed. I mean, Duquesne's been bad, but they beat them by 26. They killed Valpo. They killed Northern Illinois. They killed Eastern Illinois. They played Texas Tech this week. But the Big East is in a precarious position right now because last year, like, there were at least 3 teams that were on the bubble that could have been in the NCAA tournament. The Big East didn't have a bad non-conference. It's just that the bubble didn't fall their way. This year, the Big East is having a bad non-conference, and we already saw that the bubble probably won't fall their way. This is it's an uphill battle for the Big East to get 4 bids at this point, and that is embarrassing for a league with coaches of this caliber.
Yeah.
For Seton Hall, it's an NIL problem, straight up. But like for Providence, like Kim English has been bad. Kyle Neptune sucks. We know that. Dad Mata has done a solid job at Butler, but like not like they had a good week. Who knows what happens there? They have.
They also lost to Austin Peay.
They have a huge opportunity this week. They go to Houston. They're going to lose. All right. Run through some stuff. Grady Children's Invitational. Purdue and Ole Miss in the championship game of that. Miles Colvin with the game winner. Pretty good. That game ruled.
Yeah, nobody boxed him out on the rebound. And, like, I understand that, like, Padua thought it was going to be an air ball and it grazed the rim enough to, like, deflect to Colvin. But, yeah, you got to box out.
Do you have any other takeaways from that game?
I caught a little of it. Not a ton. But, you know, I'm glad that, like, glad's not the right word. Ole Miss is good. I think we can definitively establish that now.
Yeah, I agree. I think we can definitively.
The defense might be a problem, but they have enough on the offensive end, especially at the guard position, to win SEC games and compete throughout the year. Juju Murray is once again.
They have 5 players averaging 11 points a game or more.
Juju Murray has once again been just insane, which is
I legitimately don't like.
Still one of the strangest developments of the last 2 years of college basketball.
Like, he was good at St. Peter's, like good. 12 and a half and 2 at St. Peter's. 37% from the field, 36% from the field. Last year he was 13. He was 14 and 4, and he took the jump. Like, where did this come from? Like, I always knew he was talented. I thought he was a good mid-major guard. Like, he is going to be. He could be an all SEC player this year.
Yeah, he had 28 in the semis against BYU. He had 13 in the title game against Purdue.
We'll talk.
5 assists and 9 assists in those games, respectively.
We'll talk their matchup with Louisville in a little bit.
Dude, Ole Miss has played 7 games. He has 4 Ken Palm MVPs.
BYU is. They're going to be one of
Fardaws AMAC attended.
BYU is going to be one of my pet teams all year because they are so fun.
Mm-hmm.
I will go out of my way to watch BYU games. Igor Demon is awesome. Cannon Catchings, like, Jesus Christ, some of the stuff that he's able to do.
Yeah,
6'9".
He might be a first round pick.
Might?
Yeah,
that
may have been an understatement.
He is going to be a first round pick.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, like, Traore took over that game late, and then they just didn't have enough to get it done. In overtime, they were gassed. That's a young team with Catchings and Igor. Boskevich played a lot in that game. Mawat Mag hasn't really been a part of it for them.
He was hurt, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think he got hurt.
Yeah, I mean, he's still like one of the. He still has one of the best defensive on-off splits on this team.
Yeah, he's going to. That's what he always does. And like, we've talked enough about Purdue. We don't really need to get into that. They don't have they have Big Ten play this week. They played Penn State and Maryland.
Are those both on the road?
Penn State is on the road. Maryland is at home.
Okay.
We'll talk a little bit. We'll talk a little bit more later this week about Purdue, probably. Penn State's 30th in Cal. Okay. Other things, just run through some other MTEs as we've been here for a while. Utah State.
Did you watch any of this? I wasn't able to catch any of this MTE.
I was. Mason Falslev is incredible. Pulling Mason Falslev out of the portal. Like, I knew how good he was last year. He has taken a ginormous step forward. In wins against Iowa, St. Bonaventure, and North Texas. 25, 12, and 3. 15, 12, and 2. 28, 5, and 1. He is shooting 52% from 3. He shot 30% from 3 last year. He's taking a step up there. He's still awesome inside the arc. That's his bread and butter. He's been great defensively. He's been great on the glass. Mason Falslev is super physical for a 6'3" guard. He plays like he's 6'6". Like, Mason Falslev plays like he's 6'6". And there's Ian Martinez. They are 7-0. They play Wyoming this weekend.
Oh, they're going to go to Moraga undefeated.
They're going to go to Viejas undefeated.
Oh, you think they're winning at St. Mary's? Wouldn't that?
I don't know about that.
Wouldn't that be something?
That's really tough. But, like, if they have a ridiculous stretch at the end of this month. A ridiculous stretch at St. Mary's, at San Diego State, at Nevada. They won't come out of that unscathed. But if they go like 2-1 there, like, we're going to be talking about like a 5 seed.
Good. I want them to be a 5. That would be great if they were a 5 seed. Everyone will pick the 12, and you and I will know not to do that.
If they're 13-1, they're probably going to be 12-2. But if they're 13-1 coming out of December,
yeah, the talk will start.
They're going to be a 5 seed, like, straight up. Like, the toughest, the absolute, like, they go to the pit and they go to Boise State in February. But and also they go to Colorado State. But, like, there's 5 teams. There's 5 teams in the Mountain West this year that are positioning themselves for at-larges. They go on the road to 2 of them in December.
I mean, hey, get them out of the way.
Yep. North Texas is also really good. They are 6-2. Only losses to McNeese and Utah State. They go on the road to High Point this week, and I think they're going to win.
Yeah, I've been very not impressed by High Point to this point.
St. Bonaventure is 7-1. They handled Northern Iowa. They have a lot of pieces. I think Chance Moore has been really good. We've talked about him. But DeSante Bowen kind of coming in and being a stabilizing force offensively that can just get a bucket when you need it. He can play make. Just been very impressed with St. Bonaventure. Mark Schmidt, we know how good of a coach he is. They have a neutral. St. Bonaventure is a neutral site game at Mohegan Sun against Providence on December 14th.
They will win.
If they win that game, they likely go.
They're favored.
Yes. If they win, they likely go to their VCU game on New Year's Eve at the Riley Center 12-1. Now, they don't have any big wins, and they wouldn't have a big win even if they beat Providence. But that's how you position yourself for an at-large.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't think they're good enough to get an at-large. They're not. But
hey, like
they are. But the middle of the A10 being as good as it is right now is important for the top of the A10.
Yeah, it's helping teams like Dayton and VCU.
Florida.
I mean, real quick on Northern Iowa, I don't have any other thoughts other than the fact that Vance and Baker, when we did our Missouri Valley preview, said Northern Iowa would disappoint in non-con because they always do. They looked like a total joke this weekend, and they'll probably figure it out in MVC play because Ben Jacobson always does.
All right, Florida is 8th in KenPom. They're 8-0. They play a home game against Virginia on Wednesday.
Mm-hmm. They will win by 25.
Okay. They play Arizona State and then North Carolina. We'll talk Arizona State in a minute. How close is Florida to the top tier of the SEC?
I think they might be right there. Like, the
problem right now, by the way, has Florida above Alabama. Are you buying?
The problem that Florida had last year was their defense was really not that good, and we knew their offense would be just fine because they have Walter Clayton back. He's one of the best players in the entire country. But their defense has seemingly fixed itself, and part of that is Alex Condon getting better. But a big part of that is Ruben Chinyelu. It was one of the most underrated portal additions in the entire country.
Wow, you sound like someone very smart. I wonder who said that all off season.
Like,
I wonder who said that all off season.
Florida plays 3 bigs, and then Sam Alexis. He's not playing a ton, but he's more of a 4. Condon, Chinyelu, Hawk, I think it's pronounced, all nationally ranked in block rate. You want to know how you fix a defense? Starts with protecting the rim.
Yep.
Also, outside of the micro stuff, big picture, I don't know how good Wichita's going to end up being. I thought they've looked pretty good to start the season. Wake Forest is clearly not all that great, but Florida just freaking blasted both of them. I mean, those games were done from
they were jokes. They were jokes. Wake Forest sucks. They are
both over at half.
Wake Forest is bad. That's going to be a bad loss.
The Wake game wasn't over at half, but it felt like it was.
And then Wichita. Oh man, I was excited about Wichita. I was excited about that game.
I still kind of am. Florida.
I still am excited about Wichita, but that game sucked for them.
I'll say it. I'll still say it. Wichita can still win this league, I think.
By the way, big breakout guy Denzel Aberdeen has a 44 shooting percentage, Jonathan. Someone's Florida takes are better than someone else's.
Hey, you've been the Florida truther for years. They should be.
All right.
Hey,
Zach Austin.
Will Richards, phenomenal. Belmont guy.
Zach
Not all bad.
Austin hit a buzzer beater to beat Ohio State. Pitt is 13th in Ken Palm. They're 7-1. Are you buying the Panthers, Jonathan?
Yeah, I am. That Wisconsin game was really, really weird, and they had a chance to win it anyway. I think they can. I haven't looked too much into their schedule yet. They play. Looks like they play Carolina on the road. They play
Mississippi
Duke on.
State on Wednesday.
Huh?
Mississippi State on Wednesday, then Virginia Tech.
Yeah, that's a really good basketball game. Not Virginia Tech. They're a CAA team. But Miss State is a good basketball team, and I'm excited to watch it. I'm really actually glad that they got the breakout game from Papa Conte because he was a guy who was this was before I did freshman rankings, but I didn't think he was bad in high school. And he hasn't played a ton for them yet. Only 10% of the minutes so far this season, but he played really well and was a big part in why they were able to get that road win over the weekend.
Yeah, they just have a lot of options, and even without Damian Dunn, I think they have obviously okay, maybe not a lot of options, but they have a couple guys that are really good options.
Yeah,
Jalen
and
Lowe is really good.
And what I said during Greenbrier last week was, Pitt might be tricking the computers right now, but I think the bottom line with them should be that they have an NBA point guard, and not many teams do.
I'm excited to see them against Mississippi State this week. Clemson over Penn State and Sunshine.
By the way, an NBA point guard that's not shooting the ball well and will shoot it better.
Clemson is 7-1. Their only loss is at Boise State, which, by the way, is a big win for Boise State. We'll talk about how Boise State lost to Boston College, who lost to Dartmouth. Actually, we'll just kind of say that right now. Boise State lost to Boston College, who lost to Dartmouth. But Clemson's 7-1. They host Kentucky this week. That's a big game. We'll kind of get into these matchups because we have to get into these matchups once we're done talking about just everything that happened this week. Mm-hmm. I was really pulling for San Francisco, man.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate. San Francisco plays St. Louis on Thursday, another big game. Then Loyola on next Sunday. So they've got big stuff coming up. But Ian Shefflin has been tremendous this year. He had 18, 13, and 8 in this game with 4 steals and 2 blocks against Penn State. He had 18, 13, and 5 against San Francisco. He was the best player on the court in Sunshine Slam. He is going to be a menace. He can be an all-ACC first-team type guy, maybe.
You might hate me for this. I really am starting to turn a corner on Brad Brownell.
Really? Why?
They run some good stuff. They got the high-low with Victor and Shefflin working really well. You have a legit point guard and Chase Hunter. Watching them in the tournament last year. Yeah, I didn't want them to make an elite 8 because I didn't think they were good last year, and I was obviously wrong.
I think this team is better than it was last year.
It very much could be. They had a good non-con last year too, if I'm remembering correctly.
They did. They were 10, 11-1. But I look at this team, and I like them better. Chase Hunter is better than he was last year. I think Jaden Zachary is really good. He gives way more defensively than Joe Girard did. That's not saying very much. Obviously, you don't have PJ Hall, and PJ Hall is going to be the best player on either of these teams. Shefflin is better defensively than Hall, and it's not even close. And Locken is better defensively than Hall.
Yeah, I don't think this is going to be a team that is super deep, but the
guys
that are playing for them, huh?
This team's first 5 of Locken, Hunter, Shefflin, Wiggins, and Zachary they're going to beat you on the glass. They're going to hit their shots. They're going to run some really good pick and rolls, and they're going to have multiple playmakers in the post. Yeah, they're really well built.
Dylan Hunter too is a good 6-man to have. It's just past him, I really don't know how much they have. They were excited about
maybe Dell Jones kind of breaks out, and maybe Miles Foster turns into something.
Well, Foster is still rebounding. He has just been horrific offensively.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's a step up when you're a 6'7" post playing in the ACC and not in the NBC.
Is 7-1. They killed Buffalo today. I feel like they're 38th in Ken Palm. They are not the 38th best team in the country. There are like probably 50 teams better than them. But they've been.
I think you're exaggerating a little bit.
I mean, I think they're good. I think they're good.
I think they could be a tournament team.
I don't disagree, but I think like they have no resume right now. Like it's a month into the season.
I mean,
it's a month into the season, and they haven't beaten a team that ranks higher than 120.
Well, hey,
there's a lot of teams like that.
Thursday, December 5th, you get your chance to start building it.
Yep. Thursday, you get. Where are they right now in wins above bubble? Just wondering right now because we are going to. By the way, the first net rankings come out tomorrow.
You'll probably pull this up faster than me.
They are 58th in wins above bubble. You know how many wins above bubble they would get if they win these next two? If they can somehow beat Purdue and Rutgers,
you tell me.
They would what?
You tell me.
They would add 1.15 wins above bubble if they can somehow beat Purdue and Rutgers. If they, I mean, obviously you could have negative wins above bubble. They could lose some wins above bubble, but like they haven't had any real opportunities. They just haven't had opportunities to get like WAB so far. Like, Clemson would have been an opportunity.
WAB. Shoot, I just closed Torbeck. All right. Where do we want to go to next?
What's next on the rundown?
It is
Liberty.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
you have more on Liberty than I do.
I picked them to win this tournament, and they did. First of all,
by the way, has the final Silver Sword come out yet?
I haven't seen it, but I also have not been looking at my phone all day. So, team rocks defensively, and they're a way better shooting team than last year. They're not like a great offensive team, but they're a way better shooting team. I've been really, really impressed with Owen Aquino. I think he is a menace on the glass. He's been really efficient out of the post. And they just this roster construction is like, I don't think their talent is significantly better than it was a year ago, but their roster construction is. And that's been the difference. Richie McKay has a lot of money at that school. And you can dominate even in the CUSA if you spend your money correctly and you're not just getting the best talent that money can buy you. And that was clearly more of a Liberty focus this year, and it's paying off. Like, also Kansas State is just a total joke.
Oh, the final Silver Sword standings are out.
Ooh, where was I?
You finished with 27 points, which tied you for 101st.
Out of how many?
539.
Oh, not bad.
Where did I finish? Oh God, this is embarrassing. I finished tied for 356th with 17 points, but I tied with some good people. I tied with Will Warren, TJ, Thomas Cavanaugh, and Aiden Jolie, and Nathan Strauss. So there's some good people to tie with. I still finished above Hannah Butler. That is our graphic designer at Mid-Major Madness. I finished above Tristan. I finished above Wait, Devin Williams filled something out. He's gonna punch a wall when he realizes where he finished. I finished above Tyler Cronin. Finished above Jake Fenner. I finished above Russ. I finished above No Escalators.
How do you create the game and that are bad at it?
I finished above Verlin. who
That's
I
like
saw yesterday.
that's
And
like
this might be the most surprising thing of all.
dude, that's
So
Russ being like that low in this is like
right.
Naismith
Anyway,
inventing basketball and then being a bad coach.
and having a losing record at Kansas.
Yes.
Anyway, Nick Miller finished dead last with 2 points. Someone else had 4 points. That person is Rocco Miller.
Ban him.
What was he thinking? How does he not have more? Top players that I noticed. Oh, Jack Church did really well. Eric Fawcett did really well. Okay, this is women's silver sword. Am I doing well in this? Oh, I am. I am 21st in the women's silver sword.
Good work.
Out of 181.
Nice.
I don't know anything about women's basketball, but I'm better. Bart Torvik is 76th. Bart Torvik is third with 76 points. Anyway.
All right.
Wait, Blake Dudonis filled out a women's silver sword? He's allowed to do that? He's an assistant at Fairfield for women's basketball.
All right, let's move on.
I mean, no crap he's doing well. He knows more about the sport than any of us. Yeah, that was bad. I don't really think we have time to get into the Palm Springs stuff.
No, you watch Michigan Xavier?
Michigan's better.
Yeah, Xavier might be just bad. Arizona. By the way, victory lap for me. I didn't pick them, but I said whoever won the New Mexico Arizona State game would beat St. Mary's.
The Arizona tip-off, just the Butler Northwestern ending, like that was in the motion. That is a foul, a shooting foul.
Mm-hmm.
Mid-major shout-outs for me. I got 4. UC Irvine
rocks.
Is the number 9 defense in all of college basketball, number 8 defense in all of college basketball right now. Adjusted.
Mm-hmm.
They held Kent State to 39 points on 63 possessions. That is 0.62 points per possession. They are 8-0. They play Cal State Bakersfield on Thursday.
And then they play 7 of their next 8 on the road.
Yep. They are interesting games. Rhode Island, shout out Rhodey, 7-0. Archie Miller with Sebastian Thomas, Jamarquez Lawrence. Javante Brown's been really good. They killed Charleston last Sunday. We mentioned that. They beat UT Arlington this week. They play Yale tomorrow. That's one of the biggest games of the day. And then Providence next Saturday. And then Brown. So a bunch of local stuff for them. Mm-hmm. Southern Utah. Bet you didn't think I'd be mentioning Southern Utah on this.
No, the Thunderbirds.
They are 7-2 under Rob Jeter. Solid record so far. Better than I expected. Played Loyola really close. Obviously got killed by UCLA. They'll get killed by Arizona, but they play New Mexico State on the 16th. They could win that game. They could beat UTRGV. Jameer Simpson has been really good for them. Scored 21. Scored 28 against Loyola. He's been really good. Then Cal Poly. I'm gonna keep banging the drum. Mike DeGeorge can really coach. That team is 2-12 in KenPom right now. 2-12. They have exceeded their win total from last year.
Can we start calling him Curious DeGeorge?
Okay. One more mid-major shout out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Maine was up to 183 in KenPom before they lost by double digits to Penn, which is a bad loss. But I saw them in person on Friday. Whew! Kellen Tynes, that guy rocks. Concerning, Miami lost to Charleston Southern. Miami sucks. They're 3-4.
They just do not play defense at all.
Their only wins are against teams that are 320 or lower.
They're the opposite of Seton Hall.
Oh, yeah. Let's take a look at where they are in preseason.
Well, KenPom has them 24th and 276. That's adjusted. And that's without...
this is good. It's good. 25th in offense, 355th in defense.
355th?
355th. All right. Time to preview some games.
Yes.
We have been on here for 2.5 hours, Jonathan.
And it's been a blast.
2.5 hours. Time to talk ACC SEC Challenge first. Second edition of this. South Carolina Boston College. Who cares? Kalamazoo. Who cares?
Hey,
Do you care?
I'm going.
Do you care?
They better win. Cal terrible.
Are you going for any reason besides you need tickets to the Kansas game?
No, I don't even think that's on the points thing. I'm just going because I want to go. It's a basketball game.
But okay, nobody cares. Kentucky Clemson, though. Both of these teams have a chance to kind of make a statement here. It's at Clemson. Kentucky, first game outside of first true road game for Mark Pope as the Kentucky coach. But it's an older team that has played in true road games. These are two teams that I actually have taken a liking to this year. I'm a lot higher on Kentucky than I thought I was going to be. Kentucky's next two games at Clemson, semi-away Gonzaga in Seattle. Wait, is that in Seattle or Spokane?
I probably in Spokane because Cal Park complained.
It's in Seattle.
Oh,
Jonathan, what is the matchup key for Clemson and Kentucky?
So, I actually do agree with you that, like, I don't think Kentucky will be too phased by this. Clemson obviously had a huge win in this challenge last year at Alabama. I just think Kentucky is a better basketball team here. I don't want to call like I was singing the Clemson praises earlier, but Kentucky's just really good, man. Like they play a really unique style of offense that's tough to prepare for. And as much as I am turning the corner on Brad Brownell, I do think that Kentucky has the coaching advantage here. You know, they didn't look great against Georgia State in Western this past week, but you're playing two not so great teams that after a big win a couple weeks ago, you're going to play down to comp a little bit, and it's going to happen sometimes. I just think from an X's and O's standpoint, Kentucky's probably the better team, and I think the fact that Kentucky can go deeper into their bench will probably be a factor as well.
Yeah, Kentucky can throw out so many different lineups depending on what they want to do, and I think that's going to win them this game, even on the road in a packed Little John. Clemson did beat Alabama last year on the road in this event, so maybe Brad Brownell goes to 2-0.
I think that Clemson, Clemson high-low
run some really good matchups in this event so far.
I think the Clemson high-low against Amari Williams. I think what you do if you're Clemson is whoever Amari Williams is guarding, have that guy throw the pass on the high-low instead of trying to score.
Florida State, LSU.
Yeah.
FSU might be better than we thought, but team's not good. LSU also not good.
Florida State's 58th in Ken Palm right
Actually,
now.
LSU's 50th. These two teams.
Listen, their only losses are Florida and Pitt. Both are top 15 Ken Palm teams. Maybe these two are actually all right.
I think we'll learn a decent amount about these two soon. Maybe one of them kills the other. Who knows?
Yeah.
Georgia Tech, Oklahoma in the JVN McCollum Bowl.
Your favorite.
Georgia Tech's not good. I just wanted to say that.
No, they are not.
Ole Miss and Louisville is going to be a fun one because I think we're at the point now. I think we are at the point now where Chris Beard is no longer the defensive genius coach that he was at Texas Tech and Texas. That is not what we're at. The charge call being removed kind of makes him change his whole thing. But Louisville's whole thing is getting out in transition, running. And Mississippi forces turnovers. They don't turn it over. They're the number one team in the country, I believe, in turnover margin percentage.
Yes, you're right.
I think they have the dudes. I'm not sure if they have a coaching advantage. I think these are two really good coaches. But this game is at Louisville. Louisville will show up for this. Like this is they showed up for Tennessee and were disappointed. Man, is that city hungry for good basketball? They're hungry.
I just
And
really
they got a glimpse
struggled.
of it in Atlantis. I think Louisville ekes one out.
Yeah, like listen, both these teams traveled this past week, so like really no advantage there. I think that it's going to be really hard for Ole Miss to win a game on the road if Chucky Hepburn can take either Murray or Padula like out of the game, or at least limit those guys. You're going to have to get some of those wings to step up, and who that's going to be, we haven't really figured that out yet. You know, none of these guys are playing big minutes. Do you lean on the veterans, Morrell and Brakefield, that have been there for a while? Do you lean on your transfers? You know, I think there's still a lot to figure out for Ole Miss at the wing position. And if Louisville's guard defense is as good as it has been, Louisville probably wins this game.
Arkansas Miami is if whoever loses this game, like we
If
can forget about them as an
is this game
NCAA
at Arkansas?
It's at Miami. Whoever loses this game, we can legitimately forget about as an NCAA tournament team.
Yeah, I was actually going to say the same thing. If Arkansas loses this game, that season over. You cannot lose this game.
Notre Dame, Georgia.
By the way, in all seriousness and like actual analysis, like Davis and Wagner and Tiro and even Fland, they can get to the rim whenever they want in this game.
Yep.
Who's your next one?
Georgia, Notre Dame at Georgia.
This game would be a lot more intriguing if Marcus Burton was healthy.
Yes, I think that this is the last game before Deshane Montgomery is available.
Okay.
I'm not sure. That might be wrong.
Georgia's good.
Yes, they are really physical. Georgia's really physical. They'll play really tough.
Mm-hmm. What's next?
Yeah, only one game left without Deshane Montgomery.
Yeah, I mean you've been singing the praises for him all offseason.
Yeah, I think he's going to be one of their best guards.
Mm-hmm. Demery has taken a step forward. Kane has been good. Newell has been everything they hoped.
And Dakota LeFew has been really good as well. I've been surprised at just how well he's translated, especially
the Ken Palm ranking doesn't say it right now, but that's a really good basketball team.
No doubt. I think they could be. You could make an argument there in the top 25. Syracuse, Tennessee. It will be a 7-point game because Syracuse has no idea how to play in a blowout.
Is it at Syracuse?
No, it's at Tennessee. Okay. By the way,
Tennessee 82, Syracuse 55.
By the way, do you know what the Ken Palm line is for this game?
Let me think about this.
You're probably going to be closer with saying 82-55 than
I was
saying
going to say 15 and a half, but that feels low.
21. I am fascinated to see what the line for this game is going to be when it actually comes out.
Okay, here's your question. Does Syracuse score more points in the first half or...
Oh, they're covering. They're covering the 21.
Should I take...
I hope you know this. They will not play a game that's not close.
Dude, you're going to convince me. I'm going to take Cuse, and then they're going to score 45 points.
What was the game last year? Oh, no, I think we said this when the matchup came out.
Yeah, we did.
No, it was something about Judah last year. Sorry. Yeah, it was. By the way,
he probably said he was going to finish the game 3 of 19.
Oh, here it was. It was Syracuse is going to walk into Maui and lose to Tennessee like 64-43, and Starling and Vince are going to go for a combined 7 for 27. So it was Syracuse, Tennessee. And by the way, that game we lost by 17. All right. Wake Forest, Texas A&M. I mean, Wake sucks.
Wake sucks, but A&M also sucks in non-con.
Auburn, Duke. This is the big game that we got to talk about. These are the two best front courts in terms of just like physicality. Maybe are these the two best? Okay. Best defense in the country against best offense in the country, Jonathan. Who gets the edge?
I'll give it to the offense. I think Auburn wins. Close. I mean, I wouldn't be like terribly surprised if Duke won, but Auburn just looks so dominant right now. And, you do think that they'll come down to some sort of normal level eventually. But they look more like Auburn's offense looks better than Duke's defense.
Yes,
right
no
now.
doubt. Auburn is unstoppable right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think Cooper Flagg's great. Come on, Lock's great. Like I don't see how they're stopping.
Like, listen, I do think that Duke will be able to get stopped in stretches of this game, but I think if Duke is going to win, they're going to have a really good X's and O's night on the offensive end, because Auburn can pretty much like get good shots whenever they want. It seems like
they have been able to just get into the lane with ease. I don't think it's going to be as easy for them. By the way, top 2 players in Ken Palm National Player of the Year.
Yeah, head-to-head in this game.
The gap between 1 and 2 is significantly wider than the gap between 2 and 10. Like 0.3 bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I'm taking Auburn. If Duke wins, if Duke wins, I wouldn't be surprised. Like home whistle, home crowd.
If Duke wins and wins like not convincingly, because they won't win convincingly, but wins a game in which they look like the slightly better or at least even team, like a lot of narratives will probably go away for the time being.
Oh my god.
What?
I just looked at the thing that you sent before the
yeah.
Before...
What else? UNC Alabama?
Yeah. Give me Alabama. Like I'm Pat McAfee.
It's like, is UNC going to be able to stop them getting to the rim at all?
No. Like Alabama is going to get whatever they want on the offensive end in this game. Although, would anyone be surprised if UNC just kind of came out and shot the lights out?
No, but I still think Alabama can win the game if they do. I don't know. I just I don't think this UNC team is as bad as they played this past weekend, and I do think that they can absolutely win this game.
We've got to move on to the Big East, Big 12.
All right,
straight up, we do not. We are.
Who does NC State play?
We are getting dangerously close to 3 hours.
Who does NC State play?
Texas.
Oh, that's right. Jesus.
We're getting dangerously close to 3 hours, so I'm going to say just basically game. Give me your pick. Cincy Villanova.
Next.
BYU Providence.
Also next.
Baylor UConn.
Give me UConn.
Kansas Creighton.
Kansas.
DePaul Texas Tech.
Is this game at Texas Tech?
Yes.
Texas Tech.
Marquette
Not that would have changed my pick.
Marquette at Iowa State.
Iowa State.
Georgetown at West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Xavier at TCU.
TCU.
Butler at Houston.
Houston.
Oklahoma State at Seton Hall.
Yuck. Oklahoma State.
Who'd you pick?
Oklahoma State.
Kansas State, St. John's.
St. John's.
Give me Cincy, BYU, UConn, Kansas, Texas Tech, Iowa State, West Virginia, Xavier, Houston, Seton Hall, and St. John's.
So we disagree on 2 of them.
Yeah, I say 7-4 for the.
Last time you and I disagreed on a small number of games, you went 3-0.
I say 7-4 for the Big 12.
Twitter needs to stop telling me to buy.
Like this just feels like a game that Seton Hall wins. Like I know we talked about how bad they are. Like it just feels like a game that they win.
No, I'm already regretting my pick. I'm sticking with Oklahoma State for my personal beliefs, but Seton Hall will win like 54-49.
And then just on St. John's, the last thing I have in my rundown, like rest in peace, Luke Carnesecca.
Yes.
99 years old, and he was still active, like in college Like he wasn't coaching, like he was still a figure that you would see show up to games, and he would talk to media. And he was always engaging. Like he was a guy that, I think he loved basketball, like as much as anybody.
I mean, he is St. John's.
Yeah, he coached. Gary Parrish was talking about this. He coached 24 years at St. John's. Never even came close to a losing record. Obviously, well before both of our times. But what a coach!
Those seasons are not tracked on Ken Palm.
He won 20 games, all but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. They were regulars in the NCAA tournament. They have not been regulars in the NCAA tournament since then. All right, Jonathan. I think it's time for you to take me home.
If you came to hear about Tyler Self and where he's working, you came to the right place. If you came to hear about John Calipari and his Jim Boeheim arc, you came to the right place. And if you came to hear about Caleb Grill and the latest happenings with him, you came to the right place. This is Season 5, Episode 39 of Brackets, Bubbles, and Bid Stealers. We'll see you next time.